Nathan Young's imposing frame casts a long shadow as he strides through the sterile corridors of the Romulan orphanage on Romulus Prime. The 35-year-old human diplomat's arrival sends ripples of shock through the facility. Whispers of carnivore and flesh-eater follow in his wake, a stark reminder of the cultural chasm he's crossing. The orphanage, a utilitarian structure housing 50 alien children, hums with an undercurrent of desperation. Food shortages threaten the very survival of its young occupants. Administrator Kira, a striking 28-year-old Romulan female, walks briskly beside Nathan, her face etched with concern. Our biology requires specific nutrients found only in Romulan plants, Kira explains, her voice tight. Recent planetary disasters have made these resources scarce. We're running out of options. Nathan nods, his eyes scanning the malnourished faces of the children they pass. His omnivorous digestive system, once a point of contention, now represents hope. He can consume a wider variety of foods, potentially sustaining children who would otherwise starve. They enter a small office where Nathan reviews files on several Romulan orphans. He studies their unique dietary needs and medical histories, his brow furrowing in concentration. 3 siblings catch his attention: Tovar, 10, Lorana, 8, and Vilek, 6. Their files indicate severe malnutrition. "I'd like to meet these 3, Nathan says, his voice firm with decision. Kira leads him to a common area where the siblings huddle together, their large eyes widening at the sight of the human. Nathan kneels, bringing himself to their level. "Hello," he says softly. "I'm Nathan. I'd like to adopt you and take you to Earth." The children exchange glances, a mix of fear and curiosity playing across their features. Tovar, the eldest, speaks up. "You want us?" Nathan nods, a smile spreading across his face. "Yes, and wait until you try our cuisine. I make a mean steak." The word steak sends a ripple of shock through the room. A Romulan caretaker gasps audibly. Kira's face pales, but she quickly composes herself. "Mr. Young," she says, her voice strained, "perhaps we should discuss dietary adjustments with our nutritionist first." Nathan stands facing Kira. "Of course. I'm open to finding a balance that respects their heritage while ensuring their health." As Kira begins the process of transferring guardianship, commotion erupts outside. A crowd of Romulan protesters gathers, their angry voices carrying through the walls. "No to barbaric eating habits," they chant. "Keep our children with their own kind." Nathan's jaw sets as he looks at the 3 siblings, now clinging to each other in fear. He made a choice, and he won't back down now. These children need him, and he'll face whatever challenges come to give them a chance at life. With determination in his eyes, Nathan prepares to navigate the hostile crowd and protect his new charges. The true test of bridging 2 vastly different cultures is about to begin, with 3 young lives hanging in the balance. Nathan's gaze swept over the 3 siblings, his willpower hardening. He turned to Kira, his voice low but firm. "We're leaving now. These children need proper care, and I intend to provide it." Kira nodded, her expression a mix of relief and concern. "Follow me. There's a back exit we can use." As they hurried through the corridors, the angry chants of the protesters grew louder. Tovar, Lorana, and Vilek huddled close to Nathan, their eyes wide with fear. Nathan placed a reassuring hand on Tovar's shoulder as they reached a small, nondescript door. "My ship is just beyond this point," Nathan explained, his voice calm despite the tension in the air. "Once we're aboard, you'll be safe." The door slid open, revealing a narrow alleyway. At the far end, the sleek form of the Terran Voyager waited, its hull gleaming in the dim light. Nathan ushered the children forward, scanning the area for any signs of the protesters. As they approached the ship, a hatch opened with a soft hiss. Nathan guided the siblings inside, his large frame shielding them from view. Once aboard, he sealed the entrance and let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Welcome aboard the Terran Voyager," a pleasant, feminine voice announced. The children jumped, looking around in confusion. Nathan smiled. "That's Arya, our ship's AI. She helps me run things around here." He turned to address the air. "Arya, meet Tovar, Lorana, and Vilek. They'll be traveling with us to Earth." "Hello, young passengers," Arya responded warmly. "I'm here to assist you during our journey. Please let me know if you need anything." Tovar's eyes widened with curiosity, momentarily forgetting his fear. "The ship can talk." Nathan nodded, pleased to see the boy's interest. "She can do a lot more than that." Arya, initiate launch sequence. As the ship hummed to life, Nathan guided the children to the cockpit. Through the view screen, they watched Vorta Prime grow smaller, the angry crowd now nothing more than a distant memory. Once they were safely in orbit, Nathan turned his attention to his new charges. Their gaunt faces and tired eyes were a stark reminder of the challenges ahead. "You must be hungry," he said gently. "Let's see about getting you something to eat." In the ship's small galley, Nathan consulted the nutritional data provided by the Romulan specialists. He input the information into the food synthesizer, watching as it produced a meal that looked nothing like the steaks he'd mentioned earlier. "Here we go," he said, setting plates in front of each child. "This should have all the nutrients you need, with flavors similar to what you're used to." The children eyed the food warily. Tovar, his young face set in stubborn lines, pushed his plate away. "I won't eat it," he declared. "It's not Romulan food." Nathan suppressed a sigh, reminding himself of the cultural gulf between them. "Tovar," he said gently, "I know this is all very strange for you, but your body needs nourishment. This food was designed specifically for Romulan children." Lorana, the middle child, tentatively picked up her utensil. She took a small bite, her eyes widening in surprise. It tastes like home," she said softly. Encouraged by his sister's reaction, Vilek followed suit. Soon, both younger siblings were eating with gusto. Tovar, however, remained resolute in his refusal. Nathan considered the situation, drawing on his diplomatic training. "Tovar," he said, "I understand your concerns. How about we make a deal? I'll create meals using only plant-based ingredients for now. As you get more comfortable, we can slowly introduce new foods. Does that sound fair?" Tovar hesitated, then gave a small nod. Nathan quickly reprogrammed the synthesizer, producing a new meal for the boy. This time, Tovar cautiously tried the food, his shoulders relaxing as he recognized the familiar flavors. As the children ate, Nathan noticed them shifting uncomfortably in their seats. He frowned, then realization dawned. "Arya," he called out, "adjust artificial gravity to match Romulan norms." The change was subtle, but the effect on the children was immediate. Their movements became more natural, the tension in their small bodies easing. "Better?" Nathan asked. 3 pairs of eyes looked at him with a mix of surprise and growing trust. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. Warning lights flashed across the control panels. "Nathan," Arya's voice was urgent. "We've encountered an unexpected solar storm. Shields are at 60% and falling." Nathan sprang into action, guiding the children to secure seats. "Hold on tight," he instructed, strapping himself into the pilot's chair. "We're going to have to navigate through this." As the ship bucked and swayed, Nathan's hands flew over the controls. He called out to Arya, making rapid adjustments to their course. The children whimpered in fear, clinging to their seats. "Hey!" Nathan said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "Want to learn how the ship works? It'll help take your mind off the storm." Over the next hour, as Nathan skillfully piloted through the turbulent space, he explained the basics of space travel to his rapt audience. By the time they emerged from the storm, Tovar was asking eager questions about propulsion systems, while Lorana and Vilek marveled at the swirling colors of the solar winds on the console. As Earth came into view, a new challenge presented itself. A transmission from the Interspecies Adoption Agency informed Nathan that his San Francisco home was unsuitable for Romulan children. They would need to relocate to a specially designed habitat in the Rocky Mountains. Nathan's heart sank as he realized the implications. His job, his friends, his entire life in San Francisco, all would have to be left behind. But as he looked at the three small faces turned trustingly towards him, he knew there was only one choice to make. Understood, he told the agency representative. We'll proceed to the new location. As they began their descent towards Earth, Nathan pointed out landmarks to the awestruck children. Look, he said, indicating the vast blue expanse below. Those are our oceans. Lorana pressed her face against the view screen, her eyes wide. It's so wet, she breathed. Nathan chuckled. Wait until you see the mountains where we'll be living. They're nothing like the cities on Vorta Prime. As they touched down at a small, private spaceport, Nathan saw a woman waiting for them. She stepped forward as they disembarked, her smile warm and welcoming. Mr. Young, she said, extending her hand. I'm Dr. Elena Martinez. I'll be assisting with the children's adaptation to Earth. Nathan shook her hand, struck by the intelligence in her eyes and the gentleness with which she regarded the children. It's a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Martinez. I have a feeling we're going to need all the help we can get. As they prepared to depart for their new home in the Rockies, Nathan felt a mix of apprehension and excitement. The journey ahead would be challenging, but looking at the three small Romulans beside him and the capable doctor who would be assisting them, he felt ready to face whatever came next. As the Terran Voyager touched down at the small, private spaceport nestled in the Rocky Mountains, Nathan felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness. He glanced at the three Romulan children beside him, their eyes wide as they took in the rugged landscape outside the view screen. Welcome to your new home, Nathan said softly, unbuckling his harness and standing up. Let's go meet Dr. Martinez and see where we'll be living. The hatch opened with a soft hiss, revealing a breathtaking vista of snow-capped peaks and dense pine forests. Tovar, Lorana, and Vilek huddled close to Nathan as they stepped onto the landing pad, their small bodies tense with uncertainty. Dr. Elena Martinez approached them, her warm smile putting Nathan at ease. Mr. Young, children, welcome to the Rocky Mountain Romulan Adaptation Facility, she said, her voice gentle and reassuring. I'm Dr. Martinez, and I'll be helping you settle in. Nathan shook her hand, struck by the intelligence in her eyes and the compassion in her smile. Thank you, Dr. Martinez. We're looking forward to seeing our new home. As they walked towards a sleek, domed structure nestled in a nearby valley, Dr. Martinez explained, the facility is designed to mimic Romulan environmental conditions. We'll be able to gradually adjust the settings to help you acclimate to Earth over time. The main entrance slid open, revealing an airlock-like chamber. As they stepped inside, Nathan felt a subtle shift in the air pressure. He noticed the children's postures relaxing almost immediately. The atmospheric pressure and gravity here are set to Romulan norms, Dr. Martinez explained, leading them into the main living area. We can fine-tune the settings for each individual room as needed. The interior of the facility was a marvel of technology and comfort. Soft, ambient lighting mimicked the natural spectrum of Romulus, while the air carried a faint, earthy scent that seemed to calm the children further. Dr. Martinez guided them through the various sections of the facility. Here's the main living area, she said, gesturing to a spacious room with comfortable seating and large windows offering stunning views of the surrounding mountains. And through here, We have the individual quarters for each of you." As they explored the bedrooms, each child's face lit up at the sight of personal spaces tailored to their needs. Vilek, the youngest, gasped in delight at a small holographic display of Romulan constellations hovering above his bed. "And now," Dr. Martinez said with a smile, "I'd like to show you something special." She led them to a massive biodome attached to the main structure. As they entered, Nathan heard the children's collective intake of breath. The dome was filled with lush Romulan vegetation, creating a slice of their home planet right here on Earth. "This biodome serves two purposes," Dr. Martinez explained. "It provides a familiar environment for you to enjoy, and it's also a source of traditional Romulan foods." Nathan watched as Tovar cautiously approached a flowering plant, his fingers gentle as he touched its delicate petals. For the first time since leaving the orphanage, the boy's face softened with something close to contentment. As evening approached, Nathan decided it was time to address the challenge of dinner. In the facility's well-equipped kitchen, he began preparing a meal that would bridge their two worlds. "I thought we could try something new tonight," Nathan said, setting plates on the table. Each held a mix of familiar Romulan vegetables alongside a small portion of synthesized meat product. Tovar's face immediately clouded with suspicion. "What's that?" he asked, pointing at the meat substitute. Nathan took a deep breath, remembering Dr. Martinez's advice about patience and open communication. "It's a protein source that humans often eat," he explained. "I know it's different from what you're used to, but it's very nutritious." Lirana and Vilek peered curiously at their plates, but followed Tovar's lead in not touching the meat. "You know," Nathan said, sitting down with them, "humans have evolved to eat both plants and animals. It's one of the things that's helped us adapt to different environments across the galaxy." Dr. Martinez, who had stayed to help with the transition, added, "That's right. In fact, I have some interesting data on how a varied diet can benefit Romulan physiology as well." She brought up a holographic display showing colorful charts and diagrams. The younger children were fascinated by the interactive images, but Tovar remained skeptical. "I won't eat it," he declared, pushing his plate away. In his frustration, his elbow caught the edge of the plate, sending it clattering to the floor. Nathan saw the flash of fear in Tovar's eyes, quickly followed by defiance. Instead of scolding the boy, Nathan calmly stood and began cleaning up the spilled food. "It's okay, Tovar," he said gently. "I remember when I was young, there were plenty of foods I didn't want to try either. How about we get you a plate with just the vegetables for now?" Tovar's rigid posture softened slightly. You're not angry?" he asked hesitantly. Nathan smiled. "No, I'm not angry. This is all new for you, and it's okay to have strong feelings about it. How about you tell me more about the foods you like from Romulus?" As Nathan prepared a new plate for Tovar, the boy began to cautiously open up about Romulan cuisine. Encouraged by their brother's willingness to talk, Lorana and Vilek joined in, peppering Nathan with questions about Earth foods and eating customs. The conversation flowed more easily as they ate, with Dr. Martinez occasionally chiming in with fascinating tidbits about the similarities and differences between Romulan and human biology. After dinner, Dr. Martinez introduced them to a holographic educational program designed to teach the children about Earth. The three young Romulans were soon engrossed in interactive lessons about Earth's diverse ecosystems and the multitude of species that called the planet home. As the children explored the virtual rainforests of South America, Nathan and Dr. Martinez stepped aside for a quiet conversation. "They're adjusting remarkably well," Dr. Martinez said, her voice low. "But there will be challenges ahead. We'll need to gradually adjust the environmental settings to help them acclimate to Earth conditions." Nathan nodded, feeling a mix of tenacity and concern. "I want to make sure they don't lose touch with their Romulan heritage," he said. "It's important to me that they feel connected to where they came from, even as they build a new life here." Dr. Martinez placed a reassuring hand on his arm, and Nathan felt a sudden warmth that had nothing to do with the facility's climate controls. "We'll find the right balance," she said, her eyes meeting his. "I'll be here to help every step of the way." For a moment, they stood in comfortable silence, watching the children's excitement as they discovered Earth's wonders. Nathan became acutely aware of Dr. Martinez's presence beside him, her intelligence and compassion drawing him in. The moment was broken by Vilek's delighted squeal as he discovered a holographic representation of Earth's oceans. Nathan and Dr. Martinez shared a smile, both recognizing the need to focus on the children's needs above all else. As the evening wound down, Nathan helped the children prepare for bed, adjusting the environmental controls in each room to mimic the day-night cycle of Romulus. He noticed a flicker of homesickness in their eyes as he tucked them in. "I know this is all very different," he said softly, sitting on the edge of Tovar's bed. "But I promise, we'll make this feel like home, and we'll always remember where you came from." Tovar nodded sleepily, his usual guardedness softened by exhaustion. "Will you tell us more about Earth tomorrow?" he asked. Nathan smiled. "Of course. We have so much to explore together." As the children drifted off to sleep, Nathan returned to the main living area to find Dr. Martinez preparing to leave. "I'll be back tomorrow to check on their progress," she said, gathering her things. "We'll start with some basic medical exams to ensure they're adapting well." Nathan walked her to the door, feeling a mix of gratitude for her help and a growing awareness of her as more than just a colleague. "Thank you for everything," he said. "I don't know how I'd manage this without you." Dr. Martinez smiled, her hand lingering on the door handle. "You're doing great, Nathan. These children are lucky to have you." With a final nod, she stepped out into the cool mountain night. Left alone, Nathan wandered to the large windows overlooking the moonlit valley. The enormity of the task ahead of him was daunting, but as he thought of the 3 young lives now in his care, he felt a surge of perseverance. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but also new opportunities to help Tovar, Lorana, and Vilek find their place in this strange new world. With a deep breath, Nathan turned away from the window and began making plans for the days ahead. There was so much to do, so much to learn, but he was ready to face whatever came next. As the days passed, Nathan found himself settling into a comfortable routine with the Romulan children. Each morning, he'd wake early to prepare a breakfast that blended Earth and Romulan cuisines, a small step in bridging their 2 worlds. The children's initial hesitation towards human foods was gradually fading, replaced by a cautious curiosity. Dr. Elena Martinez's regular visits became a highlight for both Nathan and the children. Her warm presence and wealth of knowledge helped ease the transition, and Nathan found himself looking forward to their discussions long after the children had gone to bed. During one such visit, as they sat in the facility's living area watching the children engage with a holographic Earth wildlife program, Dr. Martinez turned to Nathan with a thoughtful expression. "I've been meaning to tell you about something," she said, her eyes bright with excitement. "There's an interspecies cultural exchange event coming up in Denver. I think it would be an excellent opportunity for the children to experience more of Earth's diversity and share their own heritage." Nathan considered this, watching as Vilek attempted to catch a holographic butterfly. "That sounds fascinating, but do you think they're ready for such a big crowd? They've barely left the facility since we arrived." Dr. Martinez nodded, understanding his concern. "It's a valid point, but I believe the benefits outweigh the risks. Exposing them to Earth's diverse cultures in a controlled environment could significantly accelerate their adaptation process." After a moment's thought, Nathan agreed. "You're right, and it might be good for them to interact with other species, to see that humans aren't the only ones they can connect with here." Over the next few weeks, Nathan worked with the children to prepare a presentation about Romulan culture for the event. To his surprise, Even the usually reticent Tovar threw himself into the project with enthusiasm. One evening, as they sat around the kitchen table surrounded by colorful displays and holographic projections of Romulan architecture, Tovar spoke up. "Nathan, did you know that Romulan cities are built to harmonize with the natural landscape?" Nathan smiled, genuinely intrigued. "I didn't. Can you tell me more about that?" As Tovar launched into a detailed explanation, Nathan caught Lorana and Vilek exchanging pleased glances. It was the most animated they'd seen their older brother since arriving on Earth. The day of the event arrived, and Nathan found himself herding 3 excited Romulan children through the bustling streets of Denver. The sheer number of people and the cacophony of sounds and smells overwhelmed the young Romulans, who had grown accustomed to the quiet solitude of their mountain facility. Tovar's eyes were wide as he took in the towering buildings and diverse crowd. "There are so many different species here," he whispered, pressing closer to Nathan's side. Nathan placed a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder. "That's right. Earth is home to people from all over the galaxy now. And today, we get to share a little bit of Romulus with them." As they entered the event hall, Nathan's diplomatic instincts kicked in. He carefully guided the children through the crowd, using his imposing physical presence to create a protective barrier around them. They made their way to their assigned booth, where holographic displays of Romulan landscapes sprang to life at their approach. The children's presentation drew considerable interest. Nathan watched with pride as Tovar, initially hesitant, grew more confident with each question he answered about Romulan culture. Lorana and Vilek, emboldened by their brother's example, began eagerly interacting with other children, both human and alien. As Nathan observed the growing crowd around their booth, a familiar voice caught his attention. "Nathan Young, as I live and breathe." He turned to see Zara, a Betazoid diplomat he had worked with in the past. Her striking appearance and empathic abilities made her hard to forget. "Zara, what a pleasant surprise," Nathan said, shaking her hand warmly. Zara's dark eyes sparkled as she glanced at the Romulan children. "So the rumors are true. You've taken on quite the challenge, my friend." Nathan felt a wave of protectiveness wash over him. "They're not a challenge, Zara. They're my family now." Zara's expression softened. "Of course. I didn't mean to imply otherwise. In fact, I'm in awe of what you're doing. If you ever need any assistance navigating the complexities of interspecies adoption, please don't hesitate to call on me." As they continued to chat, Nathan's attention was drawn to a commotion near the center of the hall. He spotted Dr. Martinez, engaged in what appeared to be a heated discussion with a group of human scientists. Excusing himself from Zara, Nathan made his way closer, catching fragments of the debate. "The physiological differences are simply too great," one scientist was saying. "We're setting these children up for failure by trying to integrate them into human society." Dr. Martinez's voice was calm but firm. "With all due respect, Dr. Ahrens, you're ignoring the incredible adaptability of both Romulan and human physiology. Our preliminary data shows remarkable progress in the children's adaptation to Earth's environment." Nathan stepped forward, placing himself at Dr. Martinez's side. "If I may," he interjected, his diplomatic training kicking in, "I can offer some real-world observations to support Dr. Martinez's findings." Over the next few minutes, Nathan shared anecdotes from his experiences with the children, highlighting their progress and the innovative solutions they developed to bridge the physiological gaps. His articulate defense, combined with concrete examples, seemed to sway some of the skeptical scientists. As the debate wound down, Nathan felt a tug on his sleeve. He looked down to see Tovar, his eyes shining with an unfamiliar excitement. "Nathan," the boy said, his voice tinged with nervousness and anticipation, "I've been thinking. Could we maybe try a traditional human meal when we get home? With meat?" Nathan blinked in surprise, a smile spreading across his face. "Of course, Tovar. I'd be happy to prepare that for you. As they prepared to leave the event, Nathan's communicator buzzed with an incoming message. He frowned as he read the urgent communication from the Interspecies Adoption Agency. Mr. Young, we received a petition from a group of Romulan officials. They're claiming that the adoption violates Romulan cultural preservation laws and are demanding the children's return. We'll need to address this immediately. Nathan's heart sank as he looked at the three young Romulans chattering excitedly about their experiences at the event. The progress they'd made, the bonds they'd formed, all of it was suddenly at risk. As they boarded the transport back to their mountain home, Nathan's mind raced with the implications of this new challenge. He watched the children, their faces alight with new experiences and growing comfort in their Earth surroundings. Tovar caught his eye and smiled, a rare, unguarded expression that tugged at Nathan's heart. The transport hummed to life, carrying them back to the Rockies and the promised human-style dinner. As the Denver skyline receded behind them, Nathan began to formulate a plan. He would need all of his diplomatic skills, and perhaps some help from his newfound allies, to secure the children's future on Earth. But first, he had a dinner to prepare, a small step in the greater journey of blending two worlds into one family. As the transport descended towards their mountain home, Nathan's mind raced with strategies to counter the Romulan petition. The children's excited chatter about their day in Denver faded into the background as he formulated a plan of action. Once they were settled back in the habitat, Nathan prepared the promised human-style dinner, complete with a small portion of replicated meat for Tovar to try. As the children ate, he excused himself to make a series of urgent calls. "Administrator Chen, I need your help," Nathan said, his voice low as he spoke into his communicator. "The Romulans have filed a petition to return the children. We need to mobilize our resources immediately." Over the next few days, Nathan's habitat became a hub of activity. Representatives from the Interspecies Adoption Agency and Earth's Foreign Affairs Department came and went, their faces grim as they discussed the legal implications of the Romulan petition. Dr. Elena Martinez's visits became more frequent, ostensibly to monitor the children's health. But Nathan couldn't help noticing the lingering glances she cast his way. During one such visit, as they stood side by side watching the children play in the habitat's garden, her hand brushed against his. "Nathan," she said softly, her eyes meeting his, "I want you to know that I'm here for you, whatever happens." Before Nathan could respond, his communicator chimed. "Mr. Young," came a familiar voice. "It's Zara. I heard about the petition. I'm on my way to offer my assistance." The arrival of the Betazoid diplomat added a new layer of complexity to the already tense situation. Zara's empathic abilities proved invaluable in gauging the children's emotional states, but her presence also created an undercurrent of tension that Nathan couldn't quite ignore. One evening, as Zara provided her insights on the children's progress, Nathan found himself acutely aware of her proximity. Her dark eyes sparkled as she spoke, and he felt a pull towards her that both excited and confused him. "Nathan," Zara said, placing a hand on his arm, "the children are thriving here. Their emotional well-being has improved significantly since I first met them at the cultural exchange event." Nathan nodded, grateful for her support but also conscious of Dr. Martinez watching them from across the room, her expression unreadable. To strengthen his case, Nathan organized a series of carefully planned excursions for the children. Their first stop was a Grand Canyon, where Tovar, Lorana, and Velek stood in awe at the edge of the massive gorge. "It's like the firefalls of Gal-Gathong," Tovar whispered, his eyes wide. "But different, older, somehow." Nathan smiled, recording their reactions for his case file. "That's right, Tovar. The Grand Canyon has been carved by water over millions of years." Their journey continued to Washington, D.C., where the children marveled at the Smithsonian museums. Lorana was particularly fascinated by the Air and Space Museum, her eyes lighting up as she examined the ancient flying machines. "Nathan," she asked, tugging at his sleeve, "do you think I could learn to fly one of these someday?" "If that's what you want, Lorana," Nathan replied, his heart swelling with pride at her growing ambition, "there's nothing stopping you from becoming a pilot here on Earth." Their final destination was the Great Barrier Reef. As they snorkeled in the warm waters, Velik's delighted squeals could be heard even through his breathing apparatus. The vibrant marine life seemed to awaken something in the young Romulan, and Nathan made a mental note to explore more of Earth's oceans with them in the future. Back at the habitat, Nathan worked tirelessly with Dr. Martinez to compile a comprehensive health and adaptation report. Her expertise was invaluable, and Nathan found himself relying on her more and more. "The children's physiological adaptation to Earth's environment is remarkable," Dr. Martinez noted as they pored over the data. "Their improved diet and the carefully controlled environment here have had a significant positive impact on their health." As she spoke, Nathan couldn't help but notice the way her eyes lit up with passion for her work. He felt a warmth spreading through his chest, a feeling that was becoming increasingly familiar in her presence. With the hearing date looming, Nathan received an unexpected communication from Administrator Kira. The Romulan official's face appeared on the screen, her expression grave. "Mr. Young," she began, "I've been following the situation closely. I want you to know that I'm sending a statement in support of your adoption. The conditions in our orphanages—" She paused, her voice catching. "The children are better off with you, Nathan. I'll make sure the hearing committee understands that." The night before the hearing, Nathan found himself unable to sleep. He paced the habitat's living area, his mind in turmoil. The children's future hung in the balance, and he was acutely aware of the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. As dawn broke over the mountains, Nathan steeled himself for the challenge ahead. He looked in on each of the children, still peacefully asleep, and made a silent promise. No matter what happened at the hearing, he would fight with everything he had to keep them safe, to give them the future they deserved. With a deep breath, Nathan straightened his uniform and prepared to face the day that would determine not just his fate, but the fate of Tovar, Lorana, and Velek. As he stepped out of the habitat, Dr. Martinez and Zara were waiting for him, their presence a reminder that he wasn't facing this challenge alone. The transport hummed to life, carrying them towards a hearing that would change everything. As the Rocky Mountains receded behind them, Nathan felt a mix of purpose and apprehension. The battle for his family was about to begin, and the outcome was far from certain. As the transport descended towards the sprawling government complex in Geneva, Nathan took a deep breath, steeling himself for the battle ahead. The hearing room buzzed with tension as Nathan, Dr. Martinez, and Zara took their seats. Across the aisle, a group of stern-faced Romulan officials glared at them, their disapproval palpable. The presiding judge, a silver-haired human woman with piercing blue eyes, called the room to order. For hours, arguments flew back and forth. Nathan presented his case with passion and precision, backed by Dr. Martinez's medical reports and Zara's empathic assessments. The Romulan officials countered with cultural preservation laws and accusations of kidnapping. As the final statements concluded, Nathan's heart raced. The judge's expression remained impassive as she reviewed the documents before her. The silence stretched on, thick with anticipation. After careful consideration, the judge finally spoke, her voice echoing in the hushed room. "This court rules in favor of Mr. Nathan Young. Custody of the Romulan children Tovar, Lorana, and Velek will remain with him." A wave of relief washed over Nathan, but the judge wasn't finished. However, this ruling comes with strict conditions. Mr. Young must fully commit to preserving Romulan culture within the children's upbringing. Regular assessments will be conducted to ensure their well-being and cultural integration. As they left the courtroom, Nathan caught sight of the Romulan officials huddled together, their faces dark with anger. He knew this victory was just the beginning of a new set of challenges. Back at the Rocky Mountain habitat, a small celebration erupted. Tovar, Lorana, and Vilek, who had been anxiously waiting with a caretaker, rushed to embrace Nathan. Their laughter filled the air, a sound that made all the struggles worthwhile. "We stay?" Vilek asked, his small green face turned up to Nathan's. "Yes, Vilek," Nathan smiled, ruffling the boy's hair. "We stay together." As the children chattered excitedly, Nathan noticed Dr. Martinez watching him, a warm smile on her face. Zara stood nearby, her dark eyes reflecting a mix of emotions Nathan couldn't quite decipher. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Nathan implemented a comprehensive Romulan cultural education program, enlisting Administrator Kira's help in securing educational materials and arranging virtual sessions with Romulan cultural experts. One evening, as Nathan watched Tovar and Lorana engrossed in a virtual lesson on Romulan history, his comm unit buzzed with an incoming message. It was a news alert, and Nathan's stomach dropped as he read the headline. Romulan officials question ethics of interspecies adoption. The media campaign launched by the disgruntled Romulan officials gained traction quickly. Soon, the habitat was besieged by reporters and occasional protesters. Nathan found himself constantly fielding calls from the Interspecies Adoption Agency, reassuring them that the children were safe and thriving. Amidst the chaos, Dr. Martinez's visits became a source of stability. One night, as they worked late reviewing the children's progress reports, Nathan found himself acutely aware of her presence. The soft scent of her perfume, the way her brow furrowed in concentration, it all seemed suddenly, intensely noticeable. "Elena," he said softly, causing her to look up from her datapad. Their eyes met, and in that moment, the air between them seemed to crackle with electricity. Nathan leaned in, his heart pounding, and their lips met in a passionate kiss. The sound of the habitat's doors sliding open broke them apart. Zara stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with surprise. I have new information about Romulan dietary supplements," she stammered, holding up a datapad. The room filled with awkward tension as Nathan and Dr. Martinez straightened up, avoiding each other's gaze. Zara's expression was unreadable as she handed over the datapad, her fingers brushing against Nathan's. In the days that followed, Nathan threw himself into the children's care and education, pushing aside the complicated feelings stirred up by that kiss. He organized a camping trip to Yellowstone National Park, eager to give the children a taste of Earth's wilderness. As they stood at the edge of a steaming geyser, Lorana's eyes widened with wonder. "It's like the fire caves of Kazara," she whispered, "but alive." Nathan smiled, recording their reactions for the next assessment report. But his joy was short-lived. That evening, as the children roasted marshmallows over a campfire, Nathan's comm unit buzzed with an urgent message from the adoption agency. "Mr. Young," the message read, "a group of extremist Romulans has threatened drastic action to rescue the children. Return to the secure habitat immediately." Nathan's blood ran cold. He looked at the children, their faces glowing in the firelight, blissfully unaware of the danger. With a heavy heart, he began to pack up their camp, knowing that their moment of peace was about to be shattered. As they rushed back to the habitat, Nathan's mind raced. The challenges of interspecies adoption were proving to be more complex and dangerous than he had ever imagined. With the children's safety at stake and his own heart pulled in different directions, Nathan knew that the real test of his commitment was just beginning. The transport touched down at the habitat, now surrounded by a ring of security forces. Dr. Martinez and Zara were waiting, their faces etched with concern. As Nathan ushered the confused children inside, he met their eyes, seeing his own dedication reflected back at him. Together, they would face whatever came next for the sake of the children who had become the center of their world. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on Nathan's shoulders as he guided the children into the habitat, now a fortress of security measures. The once welcoming living area had transformed overnight. Advanced force fields shimmered faintly at the windows, and discreet surveillance devices blinked from corners. Tovar's eyes widened as he took in the changes, his posture stiffening. "Nathan," he said, voice low and tight, "why does our home look like a prison?" Nathan knelt beside the boy, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "It's just temporary, Tovar, to keep us all safe." But the unease in Tovar's eyes didn't fade, and Nathan knew he needed to act quickly to maintain a sense of normalcy for the children. He organized a rock climbing expedition in the nearby mountains, hoping the outdoor activity would lift their spirits. As they ascended a particularly challenging cliff face, Nathan heard a cry of pain from above. He looked up to see a figure slumped on a narrow ledge, clutching their ankle. "Hold position," Nathan called to the children, who were securely harnessed below. He climbed swiftly, reaching the injured hiker in moments. "I'm Nathan," he said, assessing the situation. "Are you hurt?" The woman looked up, and Nathan found himself captivated by her striking features. Her skin was a soft shade of green, and her eyes held an otherworldly allure. "Lyra," she replied, wincing. "I think I've sprained my ankle." As Nathan radioed for assistance, Dr. Martinez and Zara arrived at the scene. Together, they worked to stabilize Lyra's injury, their practiced movements speaking of their growing teamwork. "You're half Orion?" Lorana asked, her eyes wide with fascination as Nathan carried Lyra back to the habitat. Lyra nodded, a warm smile spreading across her face. "That's right. My father is human, and my mother is Orion." The children peppered Lyra with questions about her heritage, as Nathan set her down on the medical bed in the habitat's infirmary. Dr. Martinez began a more thorough examination of Lyra's ankle, her professional demeanor masking any reaction to the half-Orion's subtle pheromones. As Lyra recovered over the next few days, she revealed her work with the Interstellar Anthropological Society. "I study interspecies relationships," she explained to Nathan one evening as they sat in the habitat's common area. "Your situation with the children is fascinating from an academic perspective." Nathan agreed to allow Lyra to study their family dynamic, seeing an opportunity to further legitimize his adoption. However, he couldn't help but notice the effect Lyra's presence was having on the habitat's social dynamics. He found himself unusually drawn to her, even as his feelings for Dr. Martinez and Zara remained complex and unpersistent. The relative calm was shattered when Nathan received an urgent communication from Earth's Defense Forces. A group of Romulan extremists had infiltrated the planet, their target clear, the children. Within hours, a Starfleet security detail arrived at the habitat, led by Commander Jackson Steele. The man's imposing presence filled the room as he strode in, his eyes sharp and assessing. "Mr. Young," Steele said, his voice a low rumble, "we'll be implementing additional security protocols immediately." Nathan nodded, though he could feel a knot forming in his stomach. He watched as Steele's team began setting up additional defensive measures, turning their home into an even more fortified compound. The children's behavior shifted noticeably in the days that followed. Tovar became fiercely protective of Lorana and Vilek, often positioning himself between them and the Starfleet security officers. Lorana retreated to the habitat's biodome, losing herself in the study of Earth's plant life. Vilek, always the most sensitive, began experiencing nightmares that left him crying out in the night. Nathan found himself spending long hours comforting Vilek, holding the young Romulan close as he whispered soothing words. During one such night, Dr. Martinez found him in the common area, Vilek finally asleep in Nathan's arms. "This can't go on," she said softly, her eyes filled with concern. "The stress is taking a toll on all of them." Nathan nodded, careful not to disturb Vilek. "What do you suggest?" Dr. Martinez took a deep breath. "I have a research facility in the Amazon rainforest. It's secure, remote, and surrounded by nature. I think it could be good for the children. Nathan considered her words carefully. The idea of uprooting the children again gave him pause, but he couldn't deny the potential benefits. After a long moment, he nodded. Let's do it. The next few days were a flurry of covert activity as they prepared for the move. Nathan worked closely with Commander Steele to plan a secure transport, while Dr. Martinez and Zara prepared the children for the journey. As their transport craft descended through the lush canopy of the Amazon rainforest, Nathan looked around at the unlikely group they had become. Dr. Martinez sat beside him, her presence a comforting constant. Zara was helping Lorana identify the plants they could see from the windows. Lyra was deep in conversation with Tovar, likely gathering more data for her research. Commander Steele sat alert at the back of the craft, his eyes constantly scanning for potential threats. The craft touched down in a small clearing, and as the door opened, the rich, humid air of the rainforest enveloped them. Nathan took a deep breath, hoping that this new chapter would bring some peace to their increasingly complicated lives. But as he helped the children disembark, he couldn't shake the feeling that their challenges were just the beginning of their journey. The Amazon rainforest enveloped them in a warm, humid embrace as they stepped off the transport. Nathan inhaled deeply, the rich scent of earth and vegetation filling his lungs. The children's eyes widened with wonder as they took in their new surroundings. Dr. Martinez led them along a winding path through the dense foliage. "Welcome to our new home," she said, gesturing towards a clearing ahead. As they emerged from the treeline, Nathan gasped. The research facility was a marvel of sustainable architecture, its sleek lines blending seamlessly with the natural environment. Elevated walkways connected various structures nestled within the canopy, while ground-level buildings peeked out from behind lush vegetation. "It's beautiful," Lorana whispered, her eyes fixed on a vibrant butterfly fluttering nearby. Over the next few days, they settled into a new routine. Nathan worked with Commander Steele to establish security protocols that balanced safety with the children's need for exploration. The facility's adaptive environmental controls gradually adjusted the atmosphere, easing the transition for the young Romulans. One morning, as Nathan supervised the children during an outdoor session, Tovar called out excitedly, "Nathan, look at this!" Nathan hurried over to find Tovar crouched beside a strange plant. Its iridescent leaves shimmered with an otherworldly glow, and delicate tendrils swayed despite the lack of wind. Dr. Martinez arrived moments later, her eyes widening. "This is extraordinary," she breathed, carefully examining the plant. "I've never seen anything like it." The discovery energized the entire facility. Dr. Martinez threw herself into studying the alien flora, often working late into the night. Nathan found himself spending more time with Lyra, who continued her anthropological observations of their unique family dynamic. As weeks passed, the children thrived in their new environment. Tovar's strength increased noticeably, allowing him to easily climb the towering trees surrounding the facility. Lorana became Dr. Martinez's eager assistant, meticulously cataloging the rainforest's diverse plant life. Velek's nightmares faded, replaced by a growing fascination with the symphony of animal sounds that filled the air. One evening, as Nathan watched the sunset from an elevated platform, Lyra joined him. The fading light cast a warm glow on her green skin, and Nathan felt an unexpected surge of attraction. "The children are adapting remarkably well," Lyra said, her voice soft. "Your bond with them is truly unique." Nathan nodded, acutely aware of her proximity. "They're incredible. I never imagined I could care for anyone this deeply." Lyra's hand brushed against his, sending a jolt through his body. He turned to face her, their eyes meeting in a moment of unspoken tension. The spell was broken by the sudden blare of alarms. Commander Steele's voice crackled over the facility's communication system. "Unidentified vessel approaching. All personnel report to designated secure areas immediately." Nathan's heart raced as he rushed to gather the children. Security teams swarmed the facility, their weapons at the ready. As they huddled in a reinforced shelter, Nathan's mind whirled with possibilities. Had the Romulan extremists found them? Hours passed in tense silence. Suddenly, a new complication arose. Strange spores began drifting through the air, their source quickly identified as the alien plant species they had discovered. Dr. Martinez worked frantically to contain the spread, but not before several facility members, including Nathan, were exposed. The effects were immediate and disorienting. Nathan's senses sharpened to an almost painful degree, while his emotions intensified dramatically. Every sound, every touch, every feeling was amplified tenfold. As he struggled to maintain his composure, Commander Steele entered the shelter, his face grave. "Mr. Young, we received new intelligence. The approaching ship. It's not the extremists." Nathan's heightened senses picked up the slightest tremor in Steele's voice. "Then who is it?" he asked, his own words sounding unnaturally loud in his ears. "It appears to be a group of Romulan moderates," Steele replied, led by Administrator Kira. The name sent a shock through Nathan's system. Kira, the very official who had helped him secure the adoption in the first place. But why was she here? "They're requesting asylum," Steele continued, claiming political persecution on Romulus for their pro-integration stance. Nathan's mind raced, the spore's effects intensifying his thoughts to a dizzying degree. Granting asylum could provide crucial support for his adoption case, potentially securing the children's future on Earth. But it could also provoke retaliation from the Romulan government, putting everyone at risk. As he grappled with the decision, Nathan became acutely aware of the complex web of relationships surrounding him. Dr. Martinez watched him with concern, while Zara's dark eyes held a mix of emotions he couldn't decipher. Lyra stood nearby, her presence both comforting and unsettling. The children huddled close, their trust in him absolute. Tovar's protective stance, Lorana's curious gaze, Velek's gentle touch. Each sensation overwhelmed Nathan's heightened senses. Commander Steele's voice cut through the chaos in Nathan's mind. "Mr. Young, we need a decision. The ship will be within communication range in 10 minutes. Nathan took a deep breath, trying to center himself amidst the swirling emotions and intensified perceptions. The fate of his unconventional family, the potential for broader interspecies cooperation, and the looming threat of Romulan extremists all hung in the balance. As he opened his mouth to speak, a new alarm blared through the facility. Dr. Martinez burst into the room, her face pale. "The spores," she gasped. "They're mutating. We need to evacuate immediately." Nathan's decision would have to wait. As they rushed to implement emergency protocols, he realized that the challenges they faced were far more complex and unpredictable than he could have ever imagined. The spore's effects amplified his senses, making every decision feel monumental. Nathan locked eyes with Commander Steele, his heightened perception allowing him to detect the subtle tension in the officer's jaw. "We need to act now," Nathan said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Allow Administrator Kira's ship to land." Steele's eyebrows shot up. "Mr. Young, are you certain? This could complicate our situation further." "It's a risk we have to take," Nathan replied, feeling the weight of his words. Their presence could be crucial for the children's future. As Steele coordinated the landing, Nathan turned to Dr. Martinez and Lyra. "We need to contain these spores. Work together to find a solution." The two women nodded, their professional demeanors masking the complex emotions Nathan sensed roiling beneath the surface. He pushed aside the disorienting flood of feelings, focusing on the task at hand. Outside, the whine of engines filled the air as Kira's ship descended through the canopy. Nathan gathered the children, their small hands clinging to him as they watched the sleek vessel touch down in a cleared area adjacent to the facility. The ship's ramp lowered, revealing Administrator Kira flanked by a group of Romulans. Among them stood a woman whose presence immediately caught Nathan's attention. Her striking features and piercing gaze seemed to cut through the haze of spores clouding his mind. "Nathan Young," Kira called out, her voice carrying a mix of relief and urgency. "We come seeking asylum. The situation on Romulus has become untenable for those who support interspecies cooperation." Nathan stepped forward, keenly aware of the children at his side and the facility staff watching warily. "Administrator Kira, we welcome you. But I must warn you, we're dealing with a situation of our own." As if on cue, a gust of wind carried a cloud of shimmering spores past the group. The Romulan woman Nathan had noticed earlier reached out, capturing some of the spores in a small container. "Fascinating," she murmured, her eyes alight with scientific curiosity. "This is Serena," Kira introduced, "our foremost expert in xenobotany. It seems her skills may be of use here." Nathan nodded, feeling a pull toward Serena that he couldn't entirely attribute to the spore's influence. "Dr. Martinez," he called, "we could use your expertise as well." As the two scientists began to confer, Nathan felt a tugging at his sleeve. He looked down to see Velek, the young Romulan's eyes wide with a mixture of fear and wonder. "Nathan," the boy whispered, "I can hear the plant singing." Before Nathan could respond, a cry from Tovar drew his attention. The older boy stood rigid, his hands outstretched as objects around him began to tremble and rise into the air. Lorana, meanwhile, had wandered to the edge of the clearing, her hands pressed against the trunk of a massive tree, her expression one of deep concentration. "What's happening to them?" Commander Steele demanded, his hand instinctively moving to his weapon. Nathan raised a hand to calm him, even as he struggled to process the scene before him. "The spores," he realized. "They're awakening something in us. Latent abilities we didn't know we had." As if to confirm his words, Nathan suddenly found himself overwhelmed by a wave of emotions that were not his own. Fear, wonder, suspicion, and curiosity crashed over him, each feeling distinct and traceable to those around him. "We need to contain this," Dr. Martinez said, her voice steady despite the undercurrent of anxiety Nathan could now sense. "Serena, if you're willing to assist, we could use your expertise." The Romulan scientist nodded, her eyes meeting Nathan's for a moment. He felt a jolt of something. Interest? Attraction? The complexity of his own emotions mixed with those he was sensing from others made it impossible to discern. "Mr. Young," Commander Steele's voice cut through Nathan's thoughts. "We have another problem. Long-range sensors are picking up multiple ships entering the solar system. Some Romulan, some... We're not sure." Nathan closed his eyes, trying to center himself amidst the cacophony of sensations and emotions. When he opened them, he saw everyone looking to him for direction. "All right," he said, his voice stronger than he felt. "Dr. Martinez, Serena, focus on understanding these spores and their effects. Commander Steele, tighten security and monitor those ships. Administrator Kira, we need to talk about the political situation that brought you here." As the group dispersed to their tasks, Nathan knelt beside the children. "It's going to be okay," he assured them, marveling at how he could now sense the trust and fear warring within each of them. "We're going to figure this out together." Standing, Nathan caught Serena's eye once more. She approached, her expression a mix of scientific interest and something more personal. "Mr. Young," she said, her voice low, "I have a theory about these spores. If I'm right, they could be the key to everything. The children's future, interspecies relations, perhaps even galactic peace." Nathan nodded, feeling the weight of possibility in her words. "Tell me more," he said, even as alarms began to blare, signaling the approach of the mysterious ships. As Serena began to outline her theory, Nathan steeled himself for whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that the next few hours would likely determine not just his fate, but that of his unconventional family, and perhaps the future of human-Romulan relations. Relations? As Serena began outlining her theory, Nathan's heightened senses suddenly overwhelmed him. He stumbled, his vision blurring as the world around him seemed to spin. "Mr. Young," Serena exclaimed, catching him before he could fall. Her touch sent a jolt of electricity through his body, intensifying the sensory overload. Dr. Martinez rushed to his side, her medical training kicking in. "We need to stabilize him," she said, her voice imbued with concern. "The spores are affecting him more severely than we anticipated." Through the haze of his amplified perceptions, Nathan heard Commander Steele's urgent voice. "We don't have time for this. Those ships are getting closer, and we need a plan." Serena's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. "What if we could use this to our advantage?" she proposed. "If we can enhance Mr. Young's psionic abilities, he might be able to communicate with the approaching ships." Dr. Martinez looked skeptical. "It's risky. We don't fully understand the effects of these spores." Nathan pushed himself to his feet, fighting against the dizziness. "Do it," he said firmly. "If there's a chance it can help protect the children, I'm willing to take the risk." As the two scientists prepared for the procedure, Commander Steele coordinated the facility's defenses. The Romulan children, sensing the mounting tension, gathered in the control room. Nathan watched in awe as Tovar unconsciously levitated a small object around him, while Urana placed her hands on a nearby plant, causing it to grow at an accelerated rate. Vilek's soft humming filled the air, creating an unexpected sense of calm amidst the chaos. Nathan felt a surge of pride and love for his adopted children, strengthening his grit to see this through. Dr. Martinez and Serena carefully administered a concentrated dose of the alien spores to Nathan. The effect was immediate and intense. His body convulsed, a faint blue glow emanating from his skin. The sensory overload he had experienced earlier paled in comparison to the flood of information now assaulting his mind. Through the haze of pain and disorientation, Nathan felt his consciousness expand. Suddenly, he could sense the approaching ships as clearly as if they were right in front of him. He could feel the intentions and emotions of those on board, a swirling mix of grit, fear, and curiosity. With great effort, Nathan focused his newfound abilities, establishing a mental link with the leaders of each faction. He projected vivid images of the children's progress on Earth, their growing abilities, and the potential benefits of continued interspecies cooperation. The unexpected psychic communication caused the fleet to halt its advance. Nathan could sense their confusion and surprise, buying precious time for diplomatic negotiations. However, the strain of maintaining this telepathic link took a severe toll on Nathan's body. Blood trickled from his nose, and his vital signs became erratic. Dr. Martinez and Serena worked frantically to stabilize his condition. His human physiology wasn't designed for this level of psionic activity, Dr. Martinez said, her voice tight with worry. "We need to pull him back." As Nathan's consciousness retreated from the psychic plane, he became aware of Administrator Kira stepping forward. She quickly opened formal communications with the approaching fleet, building upon the groundwork laid by Nathan's telepathic intervention. "We propose a diplomatic summit," Kira announced, her voice steady and authoritative. "A neutral location where we can discuss the future of interspecies adoption and the specific case of these Romulan children." Nathan's vision cleared just in time to see Lyra burst into the room, her eyes wide with excitement. "You need to see this," she said, gesturing for Dr. Martinez and Serena to follow her. As the two scientists left to investigate Lyra's discovery, Nathan found himself overwhelmed by a new sensation. His empathic abilities, heightened by the procedure, allowed him to sense the emotions of those around him with startling clarity. He could feel Dr. Martinez's concern for his well-being, tinged with a growing attraction she was trying to suppress. Serena's emotions were a complex mix of scientific curiosity and a deep, personal interest in him. Lyra's feelings were harder to read, a swirling mix of affection, jealousy, and professional interest. Nathan's head spun as he tried to process this new emotional landscape. He looked at the children, sensing their fear and confusion, but also their unwavering trust in him. It grounded him, reminding him of what was truly important. Commander Steele's voice cut through Nathan's thoughts. The fleet has agreed to send envoys for a preliminary meeting. We need to prepare. As the facility buzzed with activity, Nathan struggled to his feet. He knew that the coming confrontation would determine not only the fate of his adopted children, but potentially the future of human-alien relations. Despite the physical toll of the procedure and the emotional complexity of his new abilities, Nathan steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The stage was set for a crucial diplomatic encounter, with the fates of worlds hanging in the balance. As Nathan watched the first shuttle from the fleet begin its descent towards the facility, he realized that his journey, and that of his unconventional family, was just the beginning. As Nathan watched the first shuttle from the fleet begin its descent towards the facility, he steeled himself for the diplomatic challenges ahead. The shuttle touched down with a soft hiss, its sleek design a stark contrast to the lush vegetation surrounding the landing pad. Nathan stepped forward, flanked by Administrator Kira and Commander Steele, as the shuttle's door slid open. Admiral Zerian emerged first, his stern features set in a mask of barely concealed disdain. Behind him came Ambassador Tlana, her serene expression a counterpoint to the Admiral's tension. General Harrison of Earth's Defense Forces completed the trio, his crisp uniform at odds with the humid Amazon air. "Welcome to Earth," Nathan said, extending his hand in greeting. Admiral Zerian ignored it, his eyes scanning the facility with suspicion. "Let's dispense with pleasantries," Zerian said coldly. "We're here to discuss the immediate return of Romulan children to their rightful home." Nathan felt a surge of protectiveness, amplified by his newly enhanced empathic abilities. He sensed fear beneath Zerian's hostility, fear of change, of losing Romulan identity. This insight gave Nathan an idea. "Before we begin formal negotiations," Nathan said, "I'd like to propose we move our discussion to a more suitable location." Curiosity piqued. The delegates followed Nathan to the facility's biodome. As they entered, gasps of wonder escaped even the most stoic among them. Lyrana's work had transformed the space into a lush hybrid of Earth and Romulan flora. Crimson leaves intertwined with verdant ferns, while alien flowers bloomed alongside terrestrial orchids. "Impossible," Admiral Zerian murmured, his composure slipping for a moment. Nathan seized the opportunity. "Not impossible, Admiral. This is what can happen when we embrace change instead of fearing it." As they settled around a table fashioned from living vines, Nathan outlined his proposal for a cultural exchange program. "Imagine Romulan children experiencing the diversity of Earth, while human children learn the rich traditions of Romulus," he said, his words carrying the weight of possibility. Ambassador Tlana nodded approvingly, but Admiral Zerian remained skeptical. "And what are the children already here?" he demanded. "How can we be sure they haven't been corrupted by your world?" At that moment, Dr. Martinez and Serena entered the biodome, carrying data pads. "We have some findings that might address your concerns, Admiral," Dr. Martinez said. As the scientists presented their research on the children's adaptation to Earth, Nathan found his attention split. He marveled at Serena's passion as she explained complex genetic markers, her eyes alight with scientific fervor. Yet he also felt drawn to Dr. Martinez, her steady presence a comforting anchor in the storm of negotiations. A sudden power fluctuation interrupted the presentation, causing the environmental controls to malfunction. The temperature and humidity in the biodome spiked, creating conditions eerily similar to Romulus. Nathan watched as beads of sweat formed on General Harrison's brow, while the Romulans seemed to relax slightly in the familiar climate. "Perhaps we should take a brief recess," Nathan suggested, sensing the shift in mood. As the delegates murmured among themselves, Tovar approached the table. Without a word, the young Romulan raised his hands, and small objects around the room began to float. They coalesced into a shimmering three-dimensional model of the solar system, each planet rotating in perfect harmony. Admiral Varen's eyes widened. How is this possible? Before Nathan could respond, Lorana stepped forward. She placed her hands on a nearby plant, and a wave of bioluminescence rippled through the biodome. The assembled diplomats watched in awe as flowers bloomed and vines grew before their eyes, weaving a living tapestry of light and color. Not to be outdone, Vilek began to sing. His clear, pure voice filled the air with a melody that seemed to resonate with the very essence of the hybrid environment around them. Nathan felt a wave of calm wash over the room, the tensions of moments ago melting away under the influence of the song. As the impromptu performance concluded, Nathan saw something he never expected. A smile on Admiral Varen's face. "Mr. Young," the Admiral said, his voice softer than before, "I believe I may have underestimated the potential benefits of this situation." Seizing the moment, Nathan proposed the establishment of a joint human-Romulan research institute. "We have a unique opportunity here," he said, "to study and foster interspecies adaptation in ways that could revolutionize our understanding of the universe." The idea gained traction quickly. General Harrison nodded enthusiastically, while Ambassador Tlana began discussing potential locations for the institute. Even Admiral Varen seemed cautiously optimistic. Just as Nathan felt the tide turning in their favor, a piercing alarm shattered the moment. Commander Steele burst into the biodome, his face ashen. "Sir," he said, addressing the room at large, "we've detected a massive energy surge from the direction of Romulus. Initial data suggests a catastrophic event." The room erupted into chaos. Admiral Varen demanded immediate access to long-range sensors, while Ambassador Tlana tried to establish contact with her homeworld. General Harrison was already coordinating with Earth's defense network, preparing for potential fallout. Nathan stood in the center of the storm, his enhanced empathy overwhelmed by the sudden surge of fear, anger, and confusion. He looked at the children, his children, their faces a mixture of terror and uncertainty. Whatever came next, he knew that protecting them would be his highest priority. As the delegates rushed from the biodome to assess the unfolding crisis, Nathan felt a hand on his arm. He turned to find Serena, her eyes filled with a mix of scientific curiosity and personal concern. "Nathan," she said, her voice low and urgent, "if what's happening on Romulus is what I think it is, the children's adaptation might be more important than ever. We need to continue our research, no matter what happens next." Nathan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. The fate of his unconventional family, the future of human-Romulan relations, and now potentially the survival of an entire species, all hung in the balance. As he followed the others to the control room, Nathan knew that the true test of his commitment to this new life was only just beginning. The control room buzzed with frantic activity as Nathan and the delegates crowded around the central display. Commander Steele's fingers flew across the holographic interface, pulling up long-range sensor data and communications logs. "It's confirmed," Steele said, his voice grave. "A massive energy surge has been detected in the Romulan system. We're looking at a potential planetary-scale catastrophe." Admiral Varen's face drained of color. "Impossible," he whispered, but the data streaming across the screens told a different story. Nathan's mind raced, his enhanced empathy picking up waves of fear and desperation from the Romulan delegates. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to focus. "We need to act fast," Nathan said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Commander Steele, I want every piece of information you can get on this event. Dr. Martinez, Serena, prepare the facility for potential refugees. We may need to accommodate a significant number of Romulans in the near future." As the team sprang into action, Nathan turned to Admiral Varen. The Romulans' earlier hostility had evaporated, replaced by a look of raw anguish. "Mr. Young," Varen said, his voice barely above a whisper, I request your assistance. We need to evacuate as many of our people as possible. Those children, they may be all that's left of our culture." Nathan nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "Of course, Admiral. We'll do everything in our power to help." Over the next few hours, the Amazon facility transformed into a hub of frenetic activity. Nathan coordinated with Earth's government, securing resources and clearance for an emergency evacuation effort. The biodome, with its adaptive environmental controls, was quickly repurposed to serve as a temporary haven for Romulan refugees. As the first transport ships began to arrive, Nathan felt a familiar tingling sensation at the base of his skull. The alien plant spores that had enhanced the children's abilities were becoming more active, their effects spreading to the adult population. Dr. Martinez approached him, her face flushed and her eyes bright. "Nathan, we've discovered something unusual," she said, her voice husky. "The spores are causing hormonal changes in both humans and Romulans. Fertility rates are increasing, and there seems to be an intensification of attraction between compatible species." Nathan swallowed hard, suddenly acutely aware of Dr. Martinez's proximity. He could sense her increased heart rate, the dilation of her pupils. His own body responded in kind, a surge of desire threatening to overwhelm his professional demeanor. Before he could respond, Serena joined them, her presence adding another layer of complexity to the already charged atmosphere. Nathan's enhanced empathy picked up on the scientist's mix of concern and barely suppressed attraction. "We need to monitor these effects closely," Serena said, her eyes darting between Nathan and Dr. Martinez. "The implications for interspecies relations could be significant." As if on cue, Lyra entered the room, her Orion pheromones amplified by the spore's influence. The effect on the male staff members was immediate and palpable, adding another layer of tension to the already complex situation. Nathan forced himself to focus on the task at hand. "We'll deal with these developments as they come," he said, his voice strained. "For now, our priority is the refugees." The first wave of Romulan evacuees arrived in a state of shock and grief. Nathan worked tirelessly to organize them into groups, assigning living quarters, and initiating the adaptation process to Earth's environment. Among the new arrivals was Valeries, a Romulan geneticist whose striking beauty and brilliant mind immediately caught Nathan's attention. As Nathan guided Valeries through the facility, he couldn't help but notice the way her emerald eyes sparkled with intelligence and curiosity. The spore's influence heightened his awareness of her, making it difficult to maintain his professional composure. "Your work here is remarkable," Valeries said, her voice melodious. "The integration of Romulan and Earth flora. It's like nothing I've ever seen." Nathan smiled, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. "It's a testament to the potential of our two species working together," he replied. Their tour was interrupted by the sound of sniffling coming from the biodome. Nathan and Valeries entered to find the children huddled together, using their abilities to create a miniature replica of Romulus using Earth plants. The sight was breathtaking. Tiny trees with crimson leaves intertwined with azure vines, forming familiar Romulan cityscapes. Flowers bloomed in patterns that mirrored the constellations visible from Romulus, their bioluminescent petals pulsing gently. Valeries gasped, her eyes filling with tears. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Nathan knelt beside the children, his heart swelling with pride and sorrow. "You've created something wonderful," he said softly. "This will help your people remember home and find hope for the future." As word of the children's creation spread, refugees began to gather in the biodome. The living replica of Romulus became a symbol of resilience and adaptability, showcasing the potential for Romulan culture to thrive in a new environment. Amidst the wonder of this moment, Commander Steele approached Nathan, his face grim. "Sir, I have some disturbing information about the Romulan disaster," he said in a low voice. Nathan excused himself and followed Steele to a private corner. The commander's report chilled him to the bone. The catastrophe on Romulus was not a natural occurrence, but the result of a failed experiment with an artificial singularity. The implications are severe, Steele concluded. We could be looking at long-term effects on nearby space, and there's a real possibility of similar incidents occurring in the future. Before Nathan could fully process this information, his communicator chirped. It was an urgent message from Earth's government. Anti-alien protests had erupted in major cities worldwide, with demonstrators fearing resource shortages and cultural conflicts due to the Romulan influx. Nathan's mind raced. The success of the Romulan integration now hinged on more than just scientific and diplomatic efforts. They needed a way to address the public's fears while showcasing the potential benefits of interspecies cooperation. As he began formulating a plan, Nathan became acutely aware of the growing sexual tension within the facility. The combination of stress, close quarters, and the spore's effects had led to several intimate encounters between humans and Romulans. He found himself struggling to maintain his composure, torn between his responsibilities and his own deepening attractions to Serena, Dr. Martinez, and Valeries. Pushing aside his personal turmoil, Nathan focused on preparing a global broadcast to address Earth's population. He planned to present the Romulan children and refugee scientists as valuable additions to Earth's society, hoping to quell the rising tide of xenophobia. As Nathan rehearsed his speech, alarms blared once again. Commander Steele burst into the room, his face ashen. "Sir," Steele said, his voice urgent, "the artificial singularity that destroyed Romulus has become unstable. It's threatening to create a cascade effect that could endanger the entire sector, including Earth." Nathan's blood ran cold as he realized the true scale of the crisis they now faced. The fate of not just the Romulan refugees, but potentially all of Earth, hung in the balance. Nathan's blood ran cold as he realized the true scale of the crisis they now faced. The fate of not just the Romulan refugees, but potentially all of Earth, hung in the balance. "We need to act fast," Nathan said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Commander Steele, gather our top scientists and engineers. We're going to need every bit of expertise we have." As Steele rushed to comply, Nathan turned to address the room. "Listen up, everyone. We're facing a threat unlike anything we've encountered before. But we have something unique here, the combined knowledge and skills of multiple species. We're going to use that to our advantage." Within minutes, the facility's main conference room was packed with human and Romulan scientists, engineers, and military personnel. Dr. Martinez and Serena took charge of a team analyzing the singularity data, their fingers flying over holographic displays as they processed the incoming information. "The expansion rate is accelerating," Serena reported, her face grim. "At this rate, it'll reach the nearest inhabited systems within days." Nathan nodded, his enhanced mind already formulating plans. He closed his eyes, focusing on the psionic abilities that had been amplified by the alien spores. With a deep breath, he reached out, establishing a mental link with key members of Earth's government and the alien coalition. The sensation was overwhelming, a cascade of thoughts, emotions, and information flooding his consciousness. Nathan gritted his teeth, fighting to maintain control as he conveyed the urgency of the situation. "We need resources," he projected, his mental voice clear and commanding. "Ships, personnel, anything you can spare. This is a threat to all of us." As Nathan communicated with Earth's leaders, Commander Steele and Admiral Varen huddled over a tactical display, their earlier animosity forgotten in the face of this new crisis. "If we combine our fleets," Varen said, his finger tracing a path through the holographic star map, "we might be able to create a defensive perimeter around the singularity." Steele nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We'll need to modify our ships to withstand the gravitational stresses. And we'll need a way to actually neutralize the threat." As if on cue, Dr. Martinez called out from her workstation, "Nathan, Serena and I might have something." The alien spores, when combined with certain Romulan minerals, they create a compound that could potentially stabilize subspace fluctuations. Nathan's eyes widened as he processed this information. That could be our key to stopping this thing. How quickly can you produce it? We'll need to run some simulations first, Serena replied, her fingers already tapping out commands on her console. But if it works, we could have a usable quantity within 48 hours. Nathan nodded, his mind racing. All right, let's make it happen. I'll lead the mission myself. The room fell silent for a moment, the weight of Nathan's decision hanging in the air. Dr. Martinez was the first to speak, her voice tight with concern. Nathan, are you sure? The risks are necessary, Nathan finished for her. My enhanced abilities give us the best chance of success. I have to do this. As the room erupted into a flurry of activity, Nathan felt a hand on his arm. He turned to find Valeries, the Romulan geneticist, her emerald eyes filled with a mix of admiration and worry. Your courage is admirable, she said softly, but perhaps I can help improve your chances. My expertise in Romulan physiology might be useful in understanding how prolonged exposure to the spores will affect you during the mission. Nathan nodded, feeling a flutter in his chest that had nothing to do with the impending danger. Thank you, Valeries. I'd appreciate your help. As the preparations for the mission intensified, Nathan found himself working closely with Valeries. Their collaboration led to the development of a treatment to stabilize the hormonal changes caused by the spores, reducing but not eliminating their effects. The children, sensing the gravity of the situation, approached Nathan as he was reviewing mission parameters. We want to help, Tovar said, his young face set with grit. We can use our abilities. Nathan knelt down to their level, touched by their offer. Of course, your talents could be invaluable. Over the next day, the children threw themselves into the preparations. Tovar used his telekinetic abilities to assemble specialized equipment with unprecedented speed and precision. Lorana worked tirelessly in the biodome, cultivating fast-growing, radiation-resistant plants that could potentially be used to shield the spacecraft. Vilek, drawing on his enhanced musical abilities, composed a series of pieces designed to maintain crew morale and cognitive function during high-stress situations. As the launch of the task force approached, Nathan found himself pulled in multiple directions. The lingering effects of the spores, combined with the stress of the situation, heightened every emotion, every interaction. The night before the mission's departure, Nathan was reviewing final preparations in his quarters when there was a knock at the door. It was Valeries, carrying a data pad with last-minute adjustments to his treatment regimen. As she entered, Nathan became acutely aware of her presence. The subtle floral scent of her skin, the way the low light caught the slight green tint of her complexion. Their eyes met, and in that moment, the tension that had been building between them reached a breaking point. Their lips met in a passionate kiss, hands exploring, bodies pressing together with an urgency born of impending danger and suppressed desire. They moved towards the bed, shedding clothes as they went. Just as things were heating up, the door chimed again. Nathan and Valeries froze, their compromising position suddenly feeling very exposed. Nathan, Dr. Martinez's voice came through the door. I have some last-minute mission details to discuss. Nathan and Valeries scrambled to make themselves presentable as Dr. Martinez entered the room. The human doctor took in the scene before her eyes widening with a mix of shock and hurt. The situation quickly escalated into a complex emotional confrontation, with all three struggling to articulate their feelings amidst the backdrop of the looming mission. The night ended with tensions high and emotions raw, leaving Nathan with a tangle of undriven feelings as he prepared to depart. As dawn broke, Nathan boarded the lead ship of the task force, his mind focused on the mission ahead despite the emotional turmoil he was leaving behind. The fleet, a mix of Earth, Romulan, and allied alien vessels, began its journey towards the singularity, carrying with it the hopes of multiple civilizations. As they approached their target, the ships began to experience strange phenomena. Time seemed to stretch and compress, making communication increasingly difficult. Nathan, drawing on his enhanced psionic abilities, managed to maintain a tenuous link with the fleet, coordinating their efforts as they navigated the treacherous space near the singularity. Finally, they reached their target point. Nathan's ship, at the forefront of the fleet, prepared to deploy the experimental compound developed by Dr. Martinez and Serena. As they approached the event horizon, alarms blared throughout the vessel, gravitational pull exceeding worst-case projections. The science officer shouted over the din. Nathan gripped the arms of his command chair, his enhanced mind reaching out to the entire fleet. Time seemed to slow as he prepared them for a maneuver that would either save their civilizations or doom them all. All ships, he projected, his mental voice clear despite the chaos. On my mark, engage full reverse thrusters and deploy the compound. 3, 2, 1, mark. Mark. Nathan's mental command reverberated through the fleet as the ships engaged their reverse thrusters in perfect synchronization. The experimental compound burst forth from the lead vessel, a shimmering cloud of alien spores and Romulan minerals racing towards the singularity's event horizon. As the substance made contact with the swirling vortex of space-time, a brilliant barrier of energy materialized, encapsulating the anomaly. For a brief moment, hope surged through the crew as the singularity's expansion slowed. But the reprieve was short-lived. Sir, the gravitational forces are overwhelming the compound. The science officer shouted, her voice strained as the ship's hull groaned under the immense pressure. Nathan's enhanced mind raced, processing the flood of data from the fleet's sensors. He could feel the singularity's pull, a relentless force threatening to tear apart not just their ships, but the very fabric of space itself. With seconds to spare, Nathan reached out with his psionic abilities, establishing a mental link with every ship in the fleet. The sensation was overwhelming, a cacophony of thoughts and emotions threatening to drown out his own consciousness. But he pushed through, his voice cutting through the chaos. All ships, divert all power to your deflector arrays. We need to reinforce the compound's effect. On my mark, channel your energy directly into the barrier. As one, the fleet responded. Lights dimmed across hundreds of vessels as power was rerouted. Nathan felt the collective will of thousands of crew members, their purpose flowing through him like an electric current. Now! A surge of energy erupted from the assembled ships, arcing towards the shimmering barrier. The compound's glow intensified, pushing back against the singularity's pull. For a moment, it seemed to be working. The event horizon's expansion slowed, then stopped. Then, without warning, the singularity pulsed. A massive wave of energy burst forth, slamming into Nathan's ship with devastating force. Alarms blared as systems failed across the board. Through the mental link, Nathan felt the shock and terror of his crew as the ship was engulfed in a blinding flash of light. And then, nothing. When Nathan regained consciousness, he found himself sprawled on the bridge, surrounded by the groans of injured crew members and the hiss of ruptured conduits. The view screen showed only an unfamiliar starfield, with no sign of the fleet or the singularity. "Status report," he croaked, pulling himself to his feet. "Multiple systems failures, sir," came the weak response from the tactical station. "Life support is critical. We're not sure where we are." Nathan closed his eyes, reaching out with his enhanced senses. He felt the pull of a nearby celestial body, a planet habitable, less than a light year away. "Set a course," he ordered, his voice stronger now. "We need to land before we lose life support entirely." The journey to the planet was a blur of emergency repairs and desperate maneuvers. As they entered the atmosphere, Nathan took manual control, his enhanced reflexes guiding the crippled vessel through its descent. The impact was jarring, the screech of tearing metal echoing through the forest where they had crash-landed. Nathan dragged himself from the wreckage, his body battered but his mind alert. The air was thick with the scent of alien vegetation and the acrid smell of burning circuitry. As he surveyed the crash site, movement caught his eye. From the dense foliage emerged a group of humanoid figures, their skin emitting a soft, pulsating glow. They were unmistakably female, with live forms and delicate features that seemed almost too perfect to be natural. The lead figure stepped forward, her luminescent skin shimmering with patterns that shifted like living constellations. When she spoke, her voice resonated not just in Nathan's ears, but in his mind. "I am Zyra, Queen of the Zephyrians. We have been expecting you, Nathan Taylor of Earth." Nathan's surprise must have shown on his face, for Zyra's lips curved into a gentle smile. "We have been monitoring the crisis that brought you here," she continued. "Your arrival was unexpected but not unwelcome. Come, we have much to discuss." As Nathan followed Zyra and her entourage into the forest, he cast one last glance at his ruined ship. Whatever lay ahead, he knew that the fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire sector, now rested on what he would discover in this alien world. The journey through the forest was unlike anything Nathan had experienced. The Zephyrians' bioluminescence lit their path, casting ethereal patterns on the dense foliage around them. As they walked, Nathan felt a gentle probing at the edges of his mind, the telepathic abilities of his hosts, he realized. "Your mind is different," Zyra observed, her mental voice tinged with curiosity. "Enhanced, yet still fundamentally human. Fascinating." They emerged from the forest into a clearing that took Nathan's breath away. A city of crystalline spires rose before them, each structure pulsing with the same bioluminescent energy as the Zephyrians themselves. It was as if the entire city was alive, responding to the thoughts and emotions of its inhabitants. As they entered the city, Nathan's enhanced senses were overwhelmed by the telepathic chatter of thousands of Zephyrians. He stumbled, nearly overcome by the intensity of it all. Zyra steadied him with a gentle hand on his arm. "Focus on my voice," she instructed. "Let it anchor you amidst the chaos." Following her guidance, Nathan managed to regain his composure. They proceeded to a central structure that dwarfed the others, clearly the seat of Zephyrian power. Inside, Zyra led Nathan to a chamber filled with holographic displays showing the expanding singularity and its effects on nearby space. The sight of it brought the urgency of his mission crashing back. "You've been monitoring the situation," Nathan said, his voice tight with concern. "Do you know what's happened to my fleet? To Earth?" Zyra's expression turned grave. "Your ship survived the energy surge, but they believe you were lost. They retreated to regroup and plan their next move. As for Earth," she gestured to one of the displays, showing the blue planet surrounded by a network of defense satellites. "Your world prepares for the worst, should the singularity continue to expand." Nathan's mind raced with the implications. He needed to find a way back, to let them know he was alive and that hope wasn't lost. "But first, you said you've been expecting me," Nathan said, turning to face Zyra. "Why, what do you know about the singularity that we don't?" Zyra's gaze met his, her eyes swirling with colors that seemed to reflect the vastness of space itself. "We know how to stop it," she said simply. "But our solution requires something only you can provide." "What do you mean?" Nathan asked, a mix of hope and apprehension rising within him. "Our race is dying, Nathan," Zyra explained, her mental voice tinged with sorrow. "We can no longer reproduce among ourselves. We need an infusion of new genetic material to survive, and to create the hybrid beings capable of manipulating subspace on the scale needed to neutralize the singularity." The implications of her words hit Nathan like a physical blow. "You want me to Zerian nodded, her expression both regal and vulnerable. To save your world and ours, we ask you to father a new generation of Zephyrians. Your enhanced genetics, combined with ours, could be the key to our mutual survival. As the weight of this request settled on him, Nathan's thoughts turned to Earth, to the Romulan refugees, to Dr. Martinez, Serena, and Valeries. The fate of multiple civilizations now rested on a decision he never could have anticipated. I need time to think, Nathan managed, his legs shaking. Zerian nodded, her understanding flowing through their telepathic connection. Of course. Rest now, and we will speak more when you are ready. As Nathan was led to his quarters, he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever choice he made would alter the course of not just his life, but the very future of multiple species across the galaxy. As Nathan grappled with the weight of Queen Zyra's proposal, a sudden flash of light illuminated his quarters. He spun around, his enhanced senses on high alert, only to find himself face-to-face with Dr. Martinez, Serena, and Valeries. "Nathan," Serena exclaimed, relief evident in her voice. "We've been searching across dimensions to find you." Before Nathan could respond, another flash of light caught their attention. Through the crystalline walls of his quarters, they saw a group materializing in the lush, bioluminescent forest outside. "The rescue team," Dr. Martinez explained quickly. "We split up to cover more ground." Nathan's mind raced, trying to process this unexpected turn of events. He opened his mouth to explain the situation, but the words died in his throat as the door to his quarters slid open, revealing Queen Zyra. The Zephyrian queen's skin pulsed with an otherworldly glow, her eyes widening slightly at the sight of the newcomers. "Nathan," she said, her mental voice tinged with curiosity, "I sense a disturbance. Are these your people?" Nathan nodded, feeling the tension in the room rise palpably. "Queen Zyra, these are my colleagues from Earth, Dr. Martinez, Serena, and Valeries." He turned to the three women, his voice dropping. "We need to talk. There's so much to explain." As they made their way to the central chamber, Nathan quickly briefed his team on the Zephyrians' proposal and their advanced knowledge of subspace mechanics. The women listened in stunned silence, their expressions a mix of disbelief and concern. Upon entering the chamber, they were met by the Zephyrian Council. The holographic displays, showing the singularity's expansion, cast an eerie light across the room. "Your arrival is fortuitous," Queen Zyra addressed the newcomers. "We were just about to begin the final phase of our genetic exchange program with Nathan." The tension in the room thickened, but before anyone could respond, an urgent message from Earth cut through the air. Commander Steele's holographic form materialized, his face grim. "Nathan, Doctor, we're running out of time," Steele reported. "The singularity's expansion has accelerated. We have days at most before it engulfs the solar system. The situation on Earth is deteriorating rapidly. The Romulan refugees are panicking, and anti-alien sentiments are reaching dangerous levels." The gravity of the situation settled over the group like a heavy shroud. Nathan looked from his Earth colleagues to Queen Zyra, his mind racing to find a solution that could save both their worlds. "We need to act now," Nathan said, his voice filled with persistence. "Queen Zyra, can your scientists work with my team to integrate our technologies? We'll need to create a network of subspace stabilizers using a combination of Zephyrian tech and the properties of the hybrid DNA." Zyra nodded, her mental voice resonating with commitment. "Of course. Our finest minds are at your disposal." As the Zephyrian scientists joined them, the chamber became a flurry of activity. Dr. Martinez immediately set to work adapting the alien spore compound for use in the stabilizers, her fingers flying over holographic interfaces as she integrated the new data. Serena, pushing aside her personal feelings, focused on incorporating Romulan technology into the stabilizers. Her expertise in quantum mechanics proved invaluable as she worked to enhance their effectiveness against the singularity's gravitational pull. Valeries, her Vulcan calm a stark contrast to the frantic energy around her, delved into the intricacies of the hybrid DNA. Her knowledge of Romulan physiology allowed her to stabilize the genetic structure, ensuring it could withstand the extreme conditions near the event horizon. Nathan, his enhanced mind processing information at an incredible rate, coordinated the efforts of both teams. As he worked, he felt his psionic abilities growing stronger, the Zerian energy around him seeming to amplify his powers. Queen Zyra approached him, her eyes swirling with a mix of emotions. "Nathan, there's something we must do. A final ritual that will fully unlock your potential. It's the key to coordinating the fleet's efforts against the singularity." Nathan hesitated, acutely aware of the eyes of his Earth colleagues upon him. But the fate of multiple civilizations hung in the balance. He nodded, following Zyra to a secluded chamber. The mating ritual was unlike anything Nathan had experienced before. Energy coursed through him, his mind expanding to encompass vast distances. When it was over, he emerged from the chamber with Zyra, both of them glowing with power. As they rejoined the others, Nathan felt the change immediately. His telepathic abilities had increased exponentially. He could sense the minds of everyone in the city, and he knew that with concentration, he could reach across the gulf of space to coordinate the entire fleet. The team worked tirelessly, each passing hour bringing them closer to a solution. As they finalized their plans, Queen Zyra presented them with a fleet of advanced Zerian ships, capable of navigating the treacherous space near the singularity. As they prepared to board the lead ship, Zyra pulled Nathan aside. "There's something you should know," she said, her mental voice filled with a mix of joy and trepidation. "I'm carrying your child." The news hit Nathan like a physical blow. He stared at Zyra, his legs shaking with the implications. A child, his child, in another dimension. Before he could fully process this revelation, alarms blared throughout the city. The singularity's expansion had accelerated again. They were out of time. Nathan boarded the lead ship with Dr. Martinez, Serena, and Valeries, his heart heavy with the knowledge of what he was leaving behind. As the fleet launched from the Zerian planet, creating a stable wormhole back to the Milky Way, Nathan reached out with his enhanced psionic abilities. He could feel the minds of the Earth fleet, the Romulan ships, and the alien coalition. As they emerged near the expanding singularity, Nathan established a telepathic link with the entire assembled force. "All ships, prepare to deploy stabilizers." Nathan's mental voice resonated across the fleet. "We have one chance to get this right." The ships moved into position, a shimmering network of energy beginning to form around the anomaly. As the stabilizers activated, the singularity's expansion slowed, but the gravitational forces threatened to tear the fleet apart. Nathan pushed his powers to their limit, coordinating the efforts of every ship. The fate of multiple civilizations hung in the balance, and failure was not an option. An option. Nathan took a deep breath, steadying himself as he prepared to push his newfound abilities to their absolute limit. All ships maintain formation. Nathan's mental voice echoed across the fleet. "We're deploying the stabilizers now." As the network of subspace stabilizers activated, a shimmering web of energy began to form around the singularity. The anomaly's expansion slowed, but the gravitational forces threatened to tear the fleet apart. Nathan gritted his teeth, his enhanced mind straining to coordinate the movements of every vessel. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he felt the pull of the singularity, a cosmic maw threatening to devour everything in its path. On the bridge of the lead ship, Dr. Martinez's fingers flew over holographic displays, her eyes darting between readouts. "Nathan," she called out, her voice tight with urgency. "The alien spore compound is degrading faster than we anticipated. At this rate, the stabilizers won't hold." Nathan's heart raced as he processed the information. "What are our options?" Dr. Martinez's mind worked furiously, analyzing data and running simulations at lightning speed. Suddenly, her eyes widened with realization. "Your DNA," she said, turning to face Nathan. "The hybrid DNA from your mating with the Zephyrians. We can use it to create a more resilient version of the stabilizer compound." Nathan nodded, understanding the implications immediately. "What do you need me to do?" "You'll need to physically connect with the ship systems," Dr. Martinez explained, her voice heavy with the weight of what she was asking. "It's risky, Nathan. The strain on your body and mind will be immense." Without hesitation, Nathan moved towards the ship's central console. "If it's our only chance to save everyone, I'll do it." Serena and Valerie sprang into action, their personal feelings set aside in the face of the crisis. They worked in tandem, modifying the ship's life support systems to accommodate the dangerous procedure. "We're ready," Serena announced, her eyes meeting Nathan's with a mix of concern and commitment. Nathan took a deep breath and placed his hands on the console. As the connection was established, he felt a jolt of energy course through his body. His consciousness expanded, merging with the ship systems. Vivid images flashed through Nathan's mind. His encounters with Queen Zyra, the Zephyrian mating rituals, the faces of Dr. Martinez, Serena, and Valerie's. The flood of memories and emotions created a surge of energy that amplified his psionic output. Nathan's awareness stretched beyond the fleet, reaching into the very fabric of subspace surrounding the singularity. Drawing on the knowledge gleaned from the Zephyrians and his own enhanced intuition, he began to manipulate the subspace field. The singularity's expansion slowed further, its event horizon fluctuating. Suddenly, a burst of energy erupted from the anomaly, bathing the fleet in an otherworldly glow. "It's working," Dr. Martinez exclaimed, her eyes wide as she analyzed the incoming data. "The singularity's expansion is reversing." But the strain on Nathan was evident. His body convulsed, and alarms blared as his life signs became erratic. The ship system struggled to maintain the connection. Serena stepped forward, her face set with drive. "We need to share the burden," she said, turning to Dr. Martinez and Valerie's. "If we create a temporary neural link between the three of us, we can help Nathan maintain the connection." Dr. Martinez nodded, quickly grasping the implications. "It's risky, but it might be our only chance." As the three women prepared for the unprecedented joining of minds, Admiral Varen's voice crackled over the comms. "We're channeling additional power to your vessel," he announced. "Whatever you're doing, it's working. Keep it up." Serena, Dr. Martinez, and Valerie's positioned themselves around Nathan, forming a circle. As they established the neural link, their consciousness merged with Nathan's and the ship systems. The effect was immediate and powerful. A psionic field extended throughout the fleet, enhancing the performance of every vessel. Ship captains reported a sudden sense of unity among their crews, as if they were all part of a single, well-oiled machine. With this combined strength, Nathan guided the fleet in a coordinated effort to contain and reverse the singularity's effects. The anomaly's event horizon began to shrink visibly, its destructive energy redirected and dispersed harmlessly into the surrounding space. As the singularity continued to collapse, long-range sensors detected an unexpected development. Within the heart of the anomaly, a stable wormhole began to form, leading to an unknown region of space. "Are you seeing this?" Valeri's normally calm voice held a note of awe. "A wormhole," Dr. Martinez confirmed, her mind racing with the possibilities. "But where does it lead?" As the fleet maintained its position around the stabilizing singularity-turned wormhole, Nathan, Serena, Dr. Martinez, and Valerie's remained locked in their neural link. Their combined consciousness explored the edges of this new phenomenon, probing for answers and potential dangers. The immediate crisis had been averted, but new challenges loomed on the horizon. The wormhole presented both an opportunity for exploration and a potential threat. And beyond the fleet, the refugee crisis on Earth, and the newly established Romulan colony demanded attention. Nathan felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. The fate of multiple civilizations now hinged on their ability to manage this unexpected doorway to the unknown, while also addressing the complex web of personal and political relationships that had developed throughout their journey. As the neural link began to strain under the prolonged connection, Nathan knew they would soon have to disengage. But for now they held steady, their minds united in purpose, facing the vast unknown that lay before them. Facing the vast unknown that lay before them. As the neural link began to strain under the prolonged connection, Nathan felt a sudden shift in the energy surrounding them. With a collective gasp, the four minds disengaged, their consciousness snapping back to their individual bodies. Nathan stumbled, his legs weak beneath him. Dr. Martinez caught his arm, steadying him as Serena and Valeries regained their bearings. The bridge of the lead ship hummed with activity as the crew worked to maintain their position around the newly formed wormhole. "Status report," Nathan called out, his voice hoarse from the mental exertion. A young ensign responded, her fingers flying over a holographic display. "The singularity has fully transformed into a stable wormhole. Sir, we've established a perimeter to prevent unauthorized access." Nathan nodded, his mind racing with the implications of this development. He turned to his companions, noting the fatigue etched on their faces. "We need to—" His words were cut short by the sudden appearance of Admiral Zerian on the main view screen. The Romulans' usually stoic features were alive with excitement. "Captain Nathan," Zerian said, his voice carrying a hint of awe, "your team has accomplished the impossible. We must seize this opportunity to study the wormhole further." Nathan straightened, pushing aside his exhaustion. "Agreed, Admiral. I propose we form a joint human-Romulan-Zephyrian research team. This could be our chance to foster deeper cooperation between our species." As Zerian nodded in agreement, a priority communication alert flashed on a nearby console. Nathan's heart sank as he recognized the Earth command frequency. "Patch it through," he ordered, bracing himself for bad news. Commander Steele's face appeared on screen, his expression grim. "Nathan, we have a situation here. The refugee crisis has reached a critical point. Tovar, Lorana, and Vilek are doing their best, but—" Steele's voice faded as he detailed the mounting challenges. The children's evolving abilities, while helpful, had sparked fear among some humans. Worse still, Lyra's experimental teleportation device was malfunctioning, causing dangerous power fluctuations across Earth's grid. Nathan's mind raced, struggling to process the dual crises before him. The wormhole presented an unprecedented opportunity for exploration and scientific advancement, while Earth teetered on the brink of chaos. A plan began to form in Nathan's mind, audacious in its scope but potentially game-changing in its impact. He turned to face his team, his eyes blazing with persistence. "We're going through that wormhole," he announced. "We'll assemble an expedition to search for new habitable worlds. If we're successful, we could solve the refugee crisis and provide a fresh start for the displaced Romulans." Dr. Martinez stepped forward, her scientific curiosity piqued. "The potential for discovery is immense, but so are the risks. We have no idea what's on the other side." "Which is why we'll need the best team possible," Nathan replied. He looked at each of them in turn, Dr. Martinez, Serena, and Valeries. "I want all of you with me on this mission." As the team began to discuss the logistics of the expedition, Nathan reached out to Queen Zyra through their telepathic link. He updated her on the situation, his mind flooding with a mix of emotions as they discussed their unborn child. The next few days passed in a blur of activity. Nathan underwent a series of medical treatments to stabilize his hybrid physiology, the process overseen by Dr. Martinez and Valeries. Their close proximity during these sessions only intensified the unpersistent tension between them. Meanwhile, Serena worked tirelessly with Zerian engineers, modifying the expedition's ships with a fusion of advanced propulsion technology and Romulan cloaking devices. As the launch date approached, Nathan made the difficult decision to leave Tovar, Lorana, and Velek on Earth. Their abilities would be crucial in maintaining stability among the refugees. The separation burdened immensely on him, but he knew it was necessary. The night before their departure, Nathan found himself alone with Serena in the ship's engineering bay. The close quarters and shared anticipation of the upcoming mission led to a passionate encounter, their bodies intertwining amidst the humming machinery. Their intimacy was abruptly interrupted by an alert from the ship's systems. An unusual energy signature was emanating from the wormhole. Nathan and Serena rushed to the bridge, joined moments later by Dr. Martinez and Valeries. As they approached the swirling vortex of the wormhole, Nathan stood at the helm of the lead ship. He took a deep breath, acutely aware of the weight of multiple civilizations resting on the outcome of this mission. "All ships, prepare for wormhole transit," Nathan commanded, his voice steady despite the tension coursing through him. The expedition fleet moved forward, crossing the event horizon. For a moment, reality seemed to stretch and distort around them. Nathan felt a disorienting sensation, as if his body was being pulled in all directions at once. Then, as suddenly as it began, the sensation passed. The ships emerged on the other side of the wormhole, entering an uncharted region of space. The view that greeted them took Nathan's breath away. Before them stretched a vast starfield, more densely packed with celestial bodies than anything they had ever encountered in known space. Nebulae of vibrant colors painted the backdrop, while strange energy patterns danced between the stars. "My God," Dr. Martinez whispered, her eyes wide as she took in the sight. "Where are we?" Nathan leaned forward, his gaze fixed on the incredible vista before them. "I don't know," he replied, a mix of excitement and trepidation in his voice. "But we're about to find out." As the expedition ships spread out to begin their survey of this new frontier, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that they had crossed a threshold from which there was no return. Whatever lay ahead would change the course of history for humans, Romulans, and Zerians alike. The journey to save their civilizations had only just begun. The expedition ships spread out, their sensors probing the celestial tapestry before them. Nathan's eyes darted from one readout to another, his mind racing to process the influx of data. "Captain," a young ensign called out, her voice trembling with excitement. "We're detecting multiple planetary bodies within habitable zones. One in particular shows promising atmospheric composition." Nathan leaned forward, studying the holographic display. "Bring us in closer. I want a full scan of that planet." As the fleet approached the celestial body, Dr. Martinez's voice filled the bridge. "Nathan, these readings. They're remarkably similar to Romulus. The gravity, the atmosphere, it's almost perfect." A surge of hope coursed through Nathan. "Designate it new Romulus Prime," he ordered, his voice steady despite the excitement bubbling within him. As they entered orbit, Valeries' console lit up with new information. "Captain, I'm detecting signs of civilization on the surface. Primitive, but definitely intelligent." Nathan's brow furrowed. The presence of an indigenous species complicated matters significantly. "Prepare a landing party," he said after a moment's hesitation. "We need to assess the situation firsthand." Before they could proceed, a priority transmission from Earth cut through the anticipation on the bridge. Commander Steele's face appeared on the main view screen, his features drawn with concern. "Nathan, we have a situation," Steele began, his voice tight. "A group of human extremists has attacked the Romulan habitation domes. Tovar, Lorana, and Velek are doing what they can, but we need support." The weight of responsibility pressed down on Nathan's shoulders. He glanced at the planet below, then back at Steele's worried face. A plan formed in his mind, "Commander, I'm sending part of the fleet back with preliminary data on new Romulus Prime," Nathan said, his decision crystallizing as he spoke. "Dr. Martinez will lead the returning ships. Her medical expertise will be crucial in managing the crisis." As Nathan gave the orders to split the fleet, he pulled Dr. Martinez aside. Their eyes met, and the unspoken tension between them surged to the surface. "Sarah," Nathan said softly, using her first name, "I need you to dash." His words were cut off as Dr. Martinez pulled him into a fierce embrace. Their lips met in a passionate kiss, years of undriven feelings pouring out in a single moment. When they finally parted, Nathan's voice was husky with emotion. "I'll come back as soon as I can. I promise." Dr. Martinez nodded, her eyes shining. "Be careful, Nathan, and come back to me." As the ships carrying Dr. Martinez and the preliminary data on new Romulus Prime departed through the wormhole, Nathan turned his attention to the planet below. He assembled a first contact team, including Serena, Valeries, and a group of Zerian cultural experts. The descent through the planet's atmosphere was smooth, revealing a landscape of vibrant alien flora. As they touched down in a clearing, Nathan's enhanced senses picked up movement in the surrounding vegetation. Slowly, figures emerged from the foliage. They were humanoid in form, but their skin pulsed with intricate bioluminescent patterns. Nathan was struck by their resemblance to the Zerians, his mind already formulating theories about possible connections. Using advanced translation devices, Nathan stepped forward. "We come in peace," he said, his voice calm and steady. "I am Nathan, representing an alliance of species seeking a new home." The aliens tilted their heads, their luminous patterns shifting in what Nathan assumed was curiosity. One of them, taller than the rest, approached Nathan. Its voice, when it spoke, was melodic and soothing. "Welcome, travelers," the translation device interpreted. "I am Zalara, matriarch of the Primonians. We have long awaited your arrival." As Nathan engaged in conversation with Zalara, Serena made a startling discovery. "Nathan," she called out, her voice filled with wonder. "The planet's magnetic field. It's interacting with the alien spores in our bodies. Our psionic abilities are amplifying." Nathan felt it too, a surge of mental energy unlike anything he had experienced before. He focused on Zalara, and suddenly, their minds connected on a deeper level. Images flooded Nathan's consciousness. The history of the Primonians, their deep connection to the planet, their peaceful society. He saw their struggles and triumphs, their hopes and fears. When the telepathic exchange ended, Zalara's eyes shimmered with an otherworldly light. "We have seen your need, Nathan," she said, her voice resonating with empathy. "And we offer a solution. Share our world with your refugees. Let us learn from each other and grow together." Nathan's heart soared at the offer, but Zalara wasn't finished. "However, to seal this alliance, you must participate in our sacred bonding ritual. Only then can our peoples truly unite." The implications of Zalara's words hung heavy in the air. Nathan turned to his team, seeing the conflict reflected in their eyes. Valeries nodded encouragingly, while Serena's face was a mask of concern. Before Nathan could respond, his communicator chirped. Earth was calling again. The first wave of Romulan colonists was preparing to depart. The future of multiple civilizations hinged on his next decision. Nathan took a deep breath, his gaze moving from his team to Zalara, then to the alien landscape around them. With a sense of both trepidation and dedication, he made his choice. "I accept your offer, Zalara," Nathan said, his voice steady. "Let us begin the ritual." As Zalara led Nathan towards an ancient temple in the distance, he couldn't help but wonder what consequences his decision would bring. The fate of humans, Romulans, Zerians, and now Primonians rested on his shoulders. Whatever the outcome, there was no turning back now. As Nathan followed Zalara towards the ancient temple, His mind raced with the implications of his decision. The sacred bonding ritual would not only seal the alliance between their peoples, but also shape the future of multiple civilizations. The integration of the Romulan colonists began almost immediately after the ritual's completion. Nathan stood atop a hill overlooking the designated landing area, watching as the first wave of Romulan ships descended through the atmosphere. The sleek, angular vessels created a stark contrast against the backdrop of the Primonians' more organic structures. As the ships touched down, Nathan felt a surge of emotion through his newly enhanced telepathic abilities. The fear, hope, and anticipation of the Romulan refugees washed over him in waves. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenges ahead. Dr. Martinez approached, her face a mixture of excitement and concern. "Nathan, we're seeing some unexpected reactions to the planet's atmosphere," she reported, gesturing to a group of Romulans emerging from their ship. Their skin flickered with faint bioluminescent patterns, reminiscent of the Primonians. Nathan nodded, recalling his own transformation during the bonding ritual. "Keep a close eye on them, Sarah. We need to understand these changes and ensure they're not harmful." As the days passed, the colonization effort faced numerous obstacles. The Romulans struggled to adapt to the planet's unique environment, their bodies reacting in unforeseen ways to the atmospheric composition and magnetic field. Dr. Martinez worked tirelessly, setting up a makeshift research lab to study these effects. Nathan's own abilities continued to evolve at an alarming rate. He found himself able to communicate telepathically with both Primonians and Romulans, bridging the gap between the two species. However, this newfound power came at a cost. Frequent headaches and moments of disorientation plagued him, often striking without warning. During one such episode, Nathan stumbled, nearly falling to his knees. Serena was at his side in an instant, her arm around his waist for support. "Nathan, this can't go on," she said, her voice tinged with worry. "We need to find a way to stabilize your condition." He nodded weakly, leaning into her embrace. "I know, but right now, I'm the only link between our people. I can't afford to step back." Serena's lips tightened into a thin line, but she nodded in understanding. "I've been researching the native flora. There might be something that can help. I'll keep looking." As Serena ventured into the lush forest surrounding the settlement, Nathan turned his attention to the growing tensions between the colonists and the Primonians. A group of Romulans, led by a charismatic figure named Tavik, had begun advocating for more aggressive expansion. Nathan observed one of Tavik's speeches from the periphery of a gathered crowd. The Romulan's voice carried across the clearing, filled with passion and conviction. "We have the technology, the knowledge to make this planet great," Tavik proclaimed, his arms spread wide. "Why should we limit ourselves to these small parcels of land when we could be building a true civilization?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, and Nathan felt a spike of alarm. He reached out telepathically to Zalara, sensing her own growing concern. In response to the rising tensions, Valeris proposed the creation of a hybrid governing council, a joint body of Romulan and Primonian representatives, she explained during a meeting with Nathan and Zalara. "It could help foster understanding and cooperation between our peoples." Nathan nodded, seeing the wisdom in her suggestion. "Make it happen, Valeris. We need to establish a framework for long-term stability." As they worked to implement the council, Nathan received a transmission from Earth that added another layer of complexity to their situation. Commander Steele's face appeared on the console, his expression a mix of relief and apprehension. "Nathan, the success of the Romulan relocation has sparked interest from other species," Steele reported. "We received inquiries from Vulcans, Andorians, and Tellarites. They're all interested in new Romulus Prime as a potential new home." Nathan's mind reeled at the implications. How soon can we expect them? Delegations from each species are preparing to depart. They'll be arriving within the month to assess the planet's suitability for multi-species colonization. As Nathan ended the transmission, he felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. The success or failure of this venture would have far-reaching consequences for countless lives across multiple civilizations. In the days that followed, Nathan threw himself into preparations for the arrival of the alien delegations. He worked closely with both Romulan and Primonian engineers to expand the settlement's infrastructure, pushing himself to the limits of his endurance. Late one night, as Nathan pored over plans for a new spaceport, he felt a gentle hand on his shoulder. He looked up to see Zalara, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with concern. "You push yourself too hard, Nathan," she said softly, her melodic voice soothing his frayed nerves. He sighed, leaning back in his chair. "There's so much to do, Zalara. So many lives depending on us getting this right." Zalara moved closer, her luminous eyes searching his face. "Perhaps what you need is not more work, but a moment of connection." Before Nathan could respond, Zalara leaned in, pressing her lips to his. The kiss was electric, sending waves of sensation through his body. As they parted, Nathan felt a surge of conflicting emotions, desire, guilt, and a deep sense of connection to this alien world. The moment was interrupted by an urgent alert from the colony's security system. Nathan's communicator chirped to life, Serena's voice cutting through the silence. "Nathan, we have a situation. The power generators have been sabotaged. We're in complete blackout." As alarms blared across the settlement, Nathan sprang into action, his personal conflicts pushed aside in the face of this new crisis. He raced towards the generator complex, knowing that in the darkness of night, the colony was vulnerable to the planet's more dangerous predators. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but Nathan knew that the fate of new Romulus Prime, and perhaps the future of interspecies cooperation, hung in the balance. With drive, he plunged into the bioluminescent forest, ready to face whatever dangers awaited in the darkness beyond. As Nathan raced through the bioluminescent forest, his mind raced even faster. The sabotage generators left the colony vulnerable, but this crisis also presented an opportunity. He had been formulating a plan to create a psychic link between the planet's ecosystem and its inhabitants, and now, more than ever, he saw the need for such a connection. Reaching the generator complex, Nathan found Dr. Martinez and Valeri's already assessing the damage. Serena emerged from the shadows, her arms full of glowing plants. "Nathan," she called, "these plants might be our solution. They're not just bioluminescent. They have incredible energy-storing properties." As they worked to restore power, Nathan shared his vision for a planet-wide psychic network. Dr. Martinez's eyes widened with excitement, while Valeri's nodded thoughtfully. "It's ambitious," Valeri said, "but it could be the key to true integration on this world." Over the next few days, as they repaired the damage from the sabotage, the team began to lay the groundwork for Nathan's plan. They designed a network of psionic amplifiers, combining Romulan technology with the properties of Serena's bioluminescent plants. Their work was interrupted by the arrival of the alien delegations from Earth. Nathan and Zalara found themselves guiding representatives from Vulcan and Doria and Tellar Prime through the growing colony. As they toured the settlement, a Vulcan scientist named Brell approached Nathan. "Your physiology fascinates me," she said, her voice calm and analytical. "I would like to conduct a series of examinations to study the effects of this environment on different species." Nathan agreed, seeing an opportunity to gather valuable data for the Psychic Link project. During the examinations, T'Prell made a startling discovery. "Your DNA has undergone significant alterations," she reported, her eyebrow raised in a rare display of surprise. "These changes have made you more compatible with the planet's ecosystem. It's possible that similar adaptations could occur in other species over time." This information energized Nathan, confirming that his plan was not only possible but potentially essential for long-term survival on new Romulus Prime. As preparations for the Psychic Link project progressed, Nathan noticed subtle changes in his body. His bioluminescent patterns became more pronounced, and he found himself able to spend longer periods outdoors without fatigue. One afternoon, while working with Serena in a field of the glowing plants, he made a shocking realization. "Serena," he said, his voice filled with wonder, "I think I'm photosynthesizing." Serena's eyes widened as she ran a scanner over his skin. "Incredible," she breathed. "You're literally drawing energy from the sun." This new ability allowed Nathan to work tirelessly on the project. He oversaw the cultivation of vast fields of bioluminescent plants, while Valeris directed the construction of amplifier stations across the colony and neighboring Primonian settlements. The alien delegations, impressed by the colony's progress and the potential of the psychic link, agreed to send small groups to participate in the experiment. Their decision marked a significant step towards a truly multi-species society on new Romulus Prime. On the day of the psychic link activation, Nathan positioned himself at the central amplifier station. Surrounded by pulsing plants and connected to the amplifier network, he began to channel his psionic energy into the system. The pain was immediate and intense, threatening to overwhelm him. As Nathan struggled to maintain the connection, chaos erupted in the colony. Tavik, the charismatic Romulan leader who had been secretly planning a coup, launched his attack. Armed followers stormed the main administrative building, taking Zalara and several council members hostage. The fledgling psychic link resonated with the heightened emotions of the colonists. Nathan, connected to the entire network, was bombarded with a flood of sensations and thoughts from both Romulans and Primonians. The overwhelming influx of information threatened to shatter his mind. Serena, recognizing the danger, rushed to Nathan's side with a stabilizing agent derived from the bioluminescent plants. As she administered the compound, Nathan felt his mind clear. He regained control of the psychic link and became acutely aware of the crisis unfolding in the colony. Through the newly established connection, Nathan coordinated a response to Tavik's attack. He telepathically guided Primonian warriors through the dense forest, allowing them to launch a surprise assault on the administrative building. Nathan channeled his enhanced abilities through the psychic link, temporarily boosting the physical capabilities of loyal colonists and Primonian warriors. This unexpected development turned the tide of the battle, and Tavik's forces were quickly overwhelmed. In the aftermath of the failed coup, Nathan worked with Zalara and the Council to restore order. The psychic link, now stable and functioning, began to have a profound effect on the colony. Romulans and Primonians found themselves sensing each other's emotions and basic thoughts, fostering a new level of understanding and empathy. As Nathan stood on a hilltop overlooking the colony, he felt the pulse of the planet and its inhabitants thrumming through him. The psychic link had connected them all in ways he hadn't anticipated, opening up new possibilities for their unique multi-species society. A communication alert drew his attention. Commander Steele's face appeared on his wrist device, his expression a mix of excitement and concern. "Nathan," Steele said, "word of your success has spread. We're receiving inquiries from dozens of species interested in joining the colony. How soon can you prepare for a new wave of immigrants?" Nathan looked out over the sprawling settlement, its bioluminescent glow mirroring the stars above. The challenge ahead was immense, but so was the potential. With a deep breath, he turned back to the communication device, ready to take the next step in his unprecedented journey. Interstellar experiment. He felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as he contemplated the challenges ahead. "We can begin preparations immediately," Nathan replied, his mind already racing with plans. "But we'll need to proceed carefully. The balance we've achieved here is delicate." As he ended the transmission, Nathan became aware of a new presence in the colony. A sleek spacecraft had landed on the outskirts, its design unlike anything he had seen before. A small delegation emerged, led by a striking female figure with iridescent skin and fluid movements. Nathan made his way to the landing site, where he was met by Zalara and Valeries. The alien woman approached them, her large, liquid eyes taking in every detail of their surroundings. "I am Ambassador Xionari of the Galactic Consortium," she announced, her voice melodious and slightly otherworldly. "We have come to assess your colony's potential for membership in our organization." Nathan felt a sudden surge in his psionic abilities as he shook Xionari's hand. Without warning, he found himself mentally connected to the ambassador, glimpsing flashes of her thoughts and motivations. The experience was overwhelming, and he struggled to maintain his composure. "Welcome to New Romulus Prime," he managed, his voice slightly strained. "I'm Nathan, and I'll be guiding you through our colony." As they began the tour, Nathan's mind raced with the implications of what he had seen in Xionari's thoughts. The consortium's interest in their planet went far beyond simple diplomacy. They sought access to rare mineral deposits and, more alarmingly, the potential weaponization of the psychic link technology. Discreetly, Nathan signaled to Serena and Valeries to join him. While Xionari was distracted by a demonstration of the colony's advanced agricultural techniques, he quickly relayed his concerns. "We need to be cautious," he whispered. "The consortium has hidden motives. We must protect our interests while maintaining diplomatic relations." Serena nodded, her expression grim. "I'll start analyzing their technology for any potential threats." Valeries added, "I'll work on strengthening our defensive capabilities, just in case." As they continued the tour, Nathan's attention was divided between showcasing the colony's achievements and grappling with his newfound connection to Xionari. He found himself drawn to her, fascinated by her alien perspective and the depth of her intelligence. Their progress was interrupted by the arrival of the first wave of settlers from Vulcan, Andoria, and Tellar Prime. The spaceport bustled with activity as diverse groups of aliens disembarked, their faces a mix of anticipation and apprehension. T'Prel, the Vulcan scientist, approached Nathan with a look of concern. "The influx of new species is putting a strain on our resources," she reported. "And there are unexpected complications with the psychic link." Nathan followed T'Prel to the medical center, where Dr. Martinez was examining a group of colonists. The doctor's face was a mask of concentration as he studied his readings. "Nathan, you need to see this," Dr. Martinez said, gesturing to his data pad. "Prolonged exposure to the psychic link is causing physiological changes in some individuals. Enhanced sensory perception, accelerated healing, and in a few cases, the development of new psionic abilities." Nathan's mind reeled at the implications. "Are these changes harmful?" "Not as far as we can tell," T'Prel interjected. "But the long-term consequences are unknown. We're essentially witnessing accelerated evolution." As Nathan pondered this new development, he became aware of Xionari's presence behind him. The ambassador's eyes gleamed with interest as she absorbed the information. "Fascinating," she murmured. "Your colony continues to exceed our expectations." Nathan felt a flicker of unease at her words, remembering the consortium's true intentions. He quickly steered the conversation to less sensitive topics, but the connection between them intensified, making it difficult to conceal his thoughts. Later that evening, as Nathan worked late in his office, Xionari sought him out. Their mental link surged as she approached, and Nathan found himself unable to resist the pull of her presence. "Your mind is remarkable, Nathan," Xionari said, her voice low and intimate. "I've never encountered a being quite like you." Their shared mental connection deepened, leading to a passionate physical encounter that left Nathan breathless and conflicted. As they lay together afterward, he struggled with his feelings for Serena and his responsibilities to the colony. The next morning, reports of unrest in the Romulan quarter reached Nathan. Tavik, despite his imprisonment, had begun to gather support among those who feared the loss of their cultural identity in the face of increasing diversity. Nathan called an emergency meeting of the colony's leadership, including representatives from the newly arrived alien settlers. As they debated how to address the growing tensions, he proposed a bold solution. "We need a new governing body," Nathan announced. "One that incorporates representatives from all species present on new Romulus Prime. It's the only way to ensure everyone's voices are heard and their interests protected." The proposal met with mixed reactions. Some, like the Andorian delegation, enthusiastically supported the idea. Others, including several Primonian elders, expressed concern about losing their traditional way of life. As the debate raged on, Nathan's communicator chirped with an urgent message from Earth. Commander Steele's face appeared, his expression grave. "Nathan, we have a situation," Steele said. "The success of your psychic link has inspired similar projects on other colonies. Some have achieved greater harmony, but others. It's chaos, Nathan. The sudden influx of shared thoughts and emotions has overwhelmed entire populations." Nathan's mind raced with the implications. He had been so focused on the challenges facing new Romulus Prime that he hadn't considered the wider impact of their work. "We need to establish a training program," Nathan said, his drive strengthening, "to teach other colonies how to properly implement and maintain a psychic link. It's the only way to prevent more disasters." As Nathan began to outline his plans for the training program, he noticed a flicker in the lights overhead. The psychic link hummed with a discordant note, causing several people in the room to wince in discomfort. "What was that?" Serena asked, her brow furrowed in concentration. Before Nathan could respond, another surge disrupted the link, this time strong enough to momentarily sever the connection. In that instant of disconnection, Nathan caught a glimpse of XNRA's satisfied smile, and he knew with certainty that the Galactic Consortium was behind the interference. The realization hit him like a physical blow. The Consortium was actively undermining their work, exploiting the colony's tensions, and using their advanced technology to sow discord. Nathan's hands clenched into fists as he contemplated their next move in this increasingly complex game of interstellar politics. Politics. Nathan's mind raced with the implications of the consortium's interference and the growing tensions within the colony. He knew he had to act quickly to protect new Romulus Prime and its inhabitants. As Nathan prepared to address the gathered leadership, an urgent alert blared through the colony's communication system. Serena burst into the room, her face pale with concern. "Nathan, we've detected a massive solar flare heading our way," she reported, her voice tight. "It's unlike anything we've seen before. Our current defenses won't be enough to protect us." The room erupted in a cacophony of worried voices. Nathan raised his hand, silencing the crowd. "We need to act now," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "I have a plan, but it will require the cooperation of every individual in this colony." Nathan quickly outlined his strategy to create a psychic shield around the planet. He explained how they would harness the combined psionic energy of all colonists to power this unprecedented defense. "It's risky," he admitted, "but it's our best chance of survival." As the colony mobilized, Nathan positioned himself at the central amplifier station. Dr. Martinez and Tprell worked feverishly to modify the equipment, their hands moving with practiced precision. "We've boosted the amplifier's capacity," Tprell reported, her usually calm voice tinged with urgency. "But the strain on your body will be immense, Nathan. Are you certain about this?" Nathan nodded grimly. "We have no choice. Initiate the link." As the psychic connection surged through the colony, Nathan felt the weight of thousands of minds pressing against his consciousness. He gritted his teeth, channeling the energy through his body and into the amplifiers. The strain was immediate and intense. Nathan's skin began to shimmer, his bioluminescent patterns flaring with unprecedented brightness. He could feel his body changing, adapting to the massive influx of psionic energy. Outside, The sky darkened as the solar flare approached. Colonists watched in awe as a shimmering dome of energy began to form around the planet, pulsing with the combined mental efforts of every individual. As Nathan struggled to maintain the shield, Serena led a covert team to investigate the consortium's hidden facility. They moved swiftly through the shadows, using the colony-wide distraction to their advantage. Inside the consortium's lab, Serena's eyes widened as she took in the array of advanced technology. "This is it," she whispered to her team. "These devices are designed to manipulate our psychic link. We need to shut them down." As Serena worked to disable the consortium's equipment, the solar flare struck. The psychic shield trembled under the onslaught, but held firm. However, the massive influx of energy overwhelmed the amplifier network, sending cascades of power surges through the colony. Nathan, still connected to the central amplifier, bore the brunt of the overload. His body convulsed as he absorbed the excess energy. His skin took on a metallic sheen, and his eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. As the solar flare passed, the psychic shield dissolved. Nathan collapsed, his body smoking and twitching. Dr. Martinez rushed to his side, barking orders to his medical team. "His vital signs are off the charts," the doctor reported, his face grim. "We need to stabilize him immediately." In the aftermath of the crisis, Ambassador Xinra confronted Nathan in the medical bay. Despite his weakened state, Nathan's eyes blazed with dedication as he presented the evidence of the consortium's secret experiments. "You've been manipulating us from the start," Nathan accused, his voice hoarse. "But we're offering you a chance to make this right." Xinra's expression shifted from defensive to contemplative as Nathan proposed a new agreement. The possibility of gaining access to the psychic link technology while ensuring the safety of new Romulus Prime was too tempting to ignore. As negotiations with the consortium progressed, Nathan's condition deteriorated rapidly. His body, pushed beyond its limits, struggled to contain the massive influx of psionic energy. Serena, her face etched with worry, approached Dr. Martinez with a desperate idea. "The bioluminescent plants," she suggested. "Could we use them to siphon off the excess energy?" The doctor's eyes lit up. "It's risky, but it might be our only chance." They quickly prepared a chamber filled with the most potent bioluminescent flora. As they placed Nathan inside, the plants reacted immediately, their glow intensifying as they began to absorb the excess energy from his body. Hours passed as the colony held its breath, waiting for news of Nathan's condition. Meanwhile, the enhanced psychic link continued to cause chaos among the population. Colonists reported sudden bursts of telepathic ability, leading to confusion and occasional conflicts. Valeries took charge, organizing training sessions to help colonists control their new powers. "Focus on your breath," she instructed a group of overwhelmed individuals. "Visualize a barrier around your mind. You control the flow of thoughts, not the other way around." As night fell, Serena kept vigil by Nathan's side. The bioluminescent chamber pulsed with a soft, otherworldly light. Suddenly, Nathan's eyes fluttered open, glowing with an intense inner light. "Serena," he whispered, his voice carrying an echo of countless other voices. "There's so much I can see." Before Serena could respond, Nathan slipped back into unconsciousness. But his brief moment of awakening sent a ripple of hope through the colony. As dawn broke over new Romulus Prime, its inhabitants prepared to face the challenges ahead, forever changed by the power they had unleashed and the bonds they had forged. Nathan's eyes fluttered open, his gaze meeting Serena's worried face. "Welcome back," she whispered, relief evident in her voice. Nathan attempted to sit up, but his body felt alien, unresponsive. Dr. Martinez and Serena quickly moved to support him, their hands steady as they helped him into an upright position. "Easy now," Dr. Martinez cautioned, his eyes fixed on the medical readouts. "Your physiology has undergone significant changes." Nathan looked down at his hands, marveling at the metallic sheen that now covered his skin. His bioluminescent patterns pulsed with an intensity he'd never experienced before, casting a soft glow around the room. As his senses adjusted, Nathan became acutely aware of the colony's psychic link. It was no longer a gentle hum in the background of his consciousness, but a vibrant, living network of thoughts and emotions. He could feel the worry of the medical staff, the excitement of researchers discussing new discoveries, and the underlying tension that permeated the colony. "I can sense everything," Nathan said, his voice hoarse from disuse. "It's overwhelming." T'Prel approached, her usually stoic expression tinged with concern. "Your connection to the psychic link appears to have been greatly amplified. We'll need to run more tests to understand the full extent of these changes." As Nathan acclimatized to his new state, word of his awakening spread rapidly through the colony. The Leadership Council, comprising representatives from all species on new Romulus Prime, convened an emergency meeting to discuss the implications of Nathan's transformation. Nathan insisted on attending, despite Dr. Martinez's reservations. As he entered the council chambers, supported by Serena, a hush fell over the assembled delegates. Nathan could sense their mix of awe, fear, and curiosity. Without warning, Nathan found himself projecting his thoughts directly into the minds of everyone present. Complex ideas and emotions flowed effortlessly, transcending language barriers and fostering an unprecedented level of understanding among the diverse group. "Incredible!" gasped the Andorian representative, her antennae twitching with excitement. "We're experiencing true telepathic communication." As the meeting progressed, Nathan demonstrated his enhanced abilities, facilitating rapid decision-making and resolving long-standing disputes with ease. However, the strain of maintaining such intense psychic connections quickly became apparent. Beads of sweat formed on Nathan's brow, and his skin began to shimmer erratically. Suddenly, a surge of psionic energy coursed through him, causing the lights in the chamber to flicker and the ground to tremor beneath their feet. "Nathan!" Serena cried out, rushing to his side as he slumped in his chair. The incident highlighted the potential dangers of Nathan's unstable powers. As the council debated their next steps, Ambassador Xionare entered the chamber, her expression grave. "I received orders to return to Consortium headquarters immediately," she announced, her eyes locking with Nathan's. "But before I go, there's something you need to know." Xionare revealed the Consortium's plans for other developing colonies, warning of potential threats to new Romulus Prime's autonomy. As she spoke, Nathan could sense her internal conflict, the genuine care she felt for him warring with her duty to her superiors. "Thank you for your honesty," Nathan said, his voice carrying a newfound resonance. "Your warning may prove invaluable." As Xionare prepared to depart, Nathan felt a deep pang of loss. Their connection, both physical and psychic, had grown stronger than he'd realized. He watched her ship leave the planet's atmosphere, a sense of foreboding settling over him. Without warning, another surge of psionic energy erupted from Nathan's body. The colony-wide psychic link fluctuated wildly, causing temporary communication blackouts and minor earthquakes across the settlement. "We need to contain this," Nathan gasped, struggling to control the power coursing through him. "I can't risk harming the colony." A team of Romulan and Vulcan engineers quickly proposed a solution, a specially designed containment facility incorporating advanced psionic dampening technology. Construction began immediately, with Nathan retreating to a temporary isolation chamber in the meantime. As Nathan focused on mastering his new abilities, Serena led an expedition to explore uncharted regions of new Romulus Prime. Her team's discovery of vast underground caverns containing an unknown mineral with psionic amplifying properties sent shockwaves through the colony. The news of this potentially game-changing resource sparked renewed tensions among the various factions. Tavik, the imprisoned Romulan dissident, began rallying support for Romulan control of the mineral deposits. His inflammatory rhetoric clashed with the Primonian elders' belief that the caverns were sacred ground. Tensions boiled over when a group of Tavik supporters attempted to seize control of the caverns by force. Primonian warriors responded, and a violent skirmish erupted. Nathan, sensing the conflict through the psychic link, knew he had to intervene despite the risks. Breaking out of his isolation chamber, Nathan raced to the site of the conflict. As he arrived, he saw Romulan and Primonian forces locked in combat, their weapons flashing in the dim light of the caverns. Drawing upon his newfound powers, Nathan projected a psionic barrier between the two groups. The shimmering wall of energy separated the combatants, preventing further bloodshed. However, the effort nearly overwhelmed Nathan, his body trembling as he struggled to maintain control. Enough! Nathan's voice boomed through the cavern, both audibly and telepathically. This conflict serves no one. We must work together if we hope to survive on this world. As the fighting ceased, Nathan felt his grip on his powers slipping. The psionic energy within him surged, threatening to break free. He fell to his knees, his skin glowing brightly as he fought to contain the power. Dr. Martinez, who had followed Nathan to the scene, rushed to his side. "We need to stabilize you," she said urgently. "I have an idea, but it's risky." As Nathan was rushed back to the medical facility, Dr. Martinez explained her proposal, a modified version of the Zerian mating ritual, combined with the properties of the newly discovered mineral to help integrate Nathan's enhanced physiology. "It's experimental," Dr. Martinez warned, "but it might be our best chance to help you control these powers." Nathan, aware of the potential dangers, but seeing no other option, agreed to undergo the procedure. As preparations began, he received a cryptic message through the psychic link, warning of an impending threat to new Romulus Prime from an unknown alien species. With this ominous prediction hanging over them, Nathan entered the specially prepared chamber for the stabilization procedure. The room's walls gleamed with veins of the amplifying mineral, and a fine mist infused with essence from the bioluminescent plants filled the air. As Dr. Martinez initiated the process, Nathan's body began to glow intensely. He felt his consciousness expanding, encompassing the entire planet. The fate of new Romulus Prime hung in the balance as Nathan underwent this transformative experience, the success of which could determine the colony's ability to face the prophesied threat looming on the horizon. In that moment of cosmic awareness, Nathan glimpsed fleeting images of a vast, alien armada moving through the stars. He knew, with terrifying certainty, that their destination was new Romulus Prime. As the visions faded and the procedure continued, Nathan silently vowed to master his new abilities, whatever it takes. The colony's survival might well depend on it. It might depend on him. With newfound persistence, Nathan surrendered himself to the procedure. The chamber filled with a luminescent mist, its ethereal glow intensifying as Dr. Martinez carefully adjusted the concentration of the newly discovered mineral. Nathan's skin tingled as the essence of bioluminescent plants mingled with the amplifying properties of the mineral, seeping into his very being. Hours passed, each moment etched with transformation. Nathan's body pulsed with waves of energy, causing the mineral-lined walls to resonate in harmony. Dr. Martinez monitored the process intently, her fingers dancing across holographic displays as she fine-tuned the delicate balance of elements. As the procedure reached its apex, Nathan's consciousness expanded. He felt every atom in his body realign, restructure, and stabilize. His skin took on an iridescent sheen, muscles tightening and redefining beneath the surface. The bioluminescent patterns that had once flickered erratically now swirled in intricate designs, pulsing in perfect sync with his heartbeat. A final surge of psionic energy erupted from Nathan, momentarily overwhelming the chamber's containment systems. Alarms blared as Dr. Martinez and her team scrambled to regain control. When the energy finally subsided, Nathan emerged transformed. He opened his eyes, taking in the world with heightened senses. Without effort, he lifted a nearby medical tray with his mind, the action as natural as breathing. His thoughts reached out to the medical team, crystal clear and devoid of the interference that had plagued him before. "How do you feel?" Dr. Martinez asked, her voice a mix of professional concern and wonder. "Balanced," Nathan replied, his voice carrying a new resonance. "For the first time since this all began, I feel in control." Before Nathan could fully acclimate to his new state, an urgent alert echoed through the facility. The colony's defense systems had detected an approaching spacecraft of unknown origin. Nathan's enhanced senses immediately picked up the collective anxiety rippling through the psychic link. Against Dr. Martinez's protests, Nathan left the medical facility. His body, still adjusting to its transformation, moved with fluid grace as he made his way to the colony's command center. Upon arrival, he found the leadership already gathered, their faces etched with concern. "What do we know?" Nathan asked, stepping into the center of the room. T'Prel, her usual stoic demeanor tinged with urgency, brought up a holographic display of the approaching vessel. "It entered our orbit 10 minutes ago. All attempts at communication have failed." Nathan closed his eyes, extending his psychic awareness beyond the confines of the planet. He sensed the massive ship looming above them, its presence a void in the cosmic tapestry of thoughts and emotions he now perceived. Opening his eyes, Nathan addressed the assembled leaders. "We need to prepare for any eventuality. But first, we need to inform everyone." With a thought, Nathan established a planet-wide psychic link, connecting every colonist simultaneously. The sensation was exhilarating, each mind a unique beacon in a vast network of consciousness. He shared the situation, his newfound control allowing him to convey information without overwhelming the recipients. As the colony mobilized its defenses, the unidentified spacecraft launched a series of smaller vessels. Nathan watched through the eyes of perimeter scouts as the craft descended, landing at various points around the main settlement. The vessels opened, revealing tall, slender beings with translucent skin that seemed to shimmer in the light of new Romulus Prime's twin suns. Nathan's mind reached out, making contact with the aliens' collective consciousness. "We are the HFY," a melodic voice echoed in Nathan's mind. "We come seeking refuge." Nathan relayed the message to the colony's leadership, his expression a mix of curiosity and caution. "They say they're refugees, fleeing the destruction of their homeworld." An HFY stepped forward, her form more delicate, yet somehow more substantial than her companions. Her eyes, pools of swirling silver, locked onto Nathan's. "I am Larissa," she communicated telepathically. "We detected your world's unique psionic signature from across the stars. We hope to find sanctuary here." Nathan considered the implications of their arrival. The colony was still grappling with its own challenges, and the introduction of a new species could further complicate matters. Yet, he couldn't ignore the plight of these refugees. "We can offer temporary shelter," Nathan proposed, both to the HFY and the colony's leadership. "A controlled integration while we negotiate terms for permanent residence." The decision sent ripples of unease through the psychic link. Nathan sensed a spike of opposition from Tavik's followers, their minds a chorus of suspicion and fear. He knew the coming days would test the colony's unity like never before. As the HFY began to establish their temporary settlement, Nathan worked closely with Larissa to facilitate the integration process. Her presence was both intriguing and unsettling, her advanced psionic abilities resonating with his own enhanced powers in ways he didn't fully understand. The HFY's arrival brought unexpected benefits. Their knowledge of psionic technology proved invaluable in refining the colony's psychic network. Larissa collaborated with Dr. Martinez and T'Prel, combining HFY techniques with the amplifying mineral to develop groundbreaking medical treatments. Yet challenges arose as quickly as opportunities. The powerful psionic abilities of the Etheri disrupted the delicate balance of the colony's psychic link, causing intermittent outages and communication difficulties. Colonists reported shared dreams and vivid hallucinations, the line between individual and collective consciousness blurring. Tensions reached a breaking point during a cultural exchange event. A group of young Etheri, unfamiliar with the physical limitations of other species, accidentally injured several Romulan and human colonists. The incident sparked outrage, with Tavik seizing the opportunity to rally support for stricter regulations on the newcomers. Nathan found himself stretched thin, mediating conflicts and struggling to maintain the fragile peace. His enhanced physiology allowed him to function with minimal rest, but the constant mental exertion took its toll. Serena and Valeries noticed subtle changes in his behavior, increased irritability, difficulty focusing during crucial discussions. As Nathan grappled with these mounting challenges, Larissa approached him with an offer. "I can teach you our meditation techniques," she proposed, her mental voice a soothing balm to his frayed nerves. "They will help you manage your abilities and the burdens of leadership." Nathan hesitated, aware of the potential benefits, but also the complications it could bring to his existing relationships. Before he could respond, a series of tremors shook the planet, emanating from the caverns housing the amplifying mineral. The seismic activity awakened something deep within the planet's core, a primordial force stirring from eons of slumber. As alarms blared and the ground continued to shake, Nathan knew he faced a decision that would shape the future of new Romulus Prime and test the limits of his newfound abilities. Abilities and test the limits of his newfound powers. The ground shook violently, sending tremors to the colony's structures. Nathan stumbled, catching himself against a nearby wall. Alarms blared as the seismic activity intensified, emanating from the mineral-rich caverns deep beneath the surface. "We need to postpone our training," Larissa said, her silvery eyes flickering with concern. "The colony needs us." Nathan nodded, his mind already reaching out to assess the situation. Together, they sprinted towards the central command center, their footsteps echoing through the corridors as the tremors continued to rock the facility. Dr. Martinez and Tprell were hunched over holographic displays when Nathan and Larissa burst into the room. The screen showed a three-dimensional map of the planet's crust, angry red lines indicating the spreading instability. "It's worse than we thought," Dr. Martinez said, her voice tight with worry. "The tremors have awakened a dormant volcanic system. Magma chambers are filling rapidly." Tprell pointed to several flashing points on the map. "The ground is already starting to fracture in these locations. If we don't act quickly, we could lose entire sections of the colony." Nathan closed his eyes, extending his psychic awareness deep into the planet's core. He felt the immense pressure building, the raw power of the magma seeking release. The amplifying mineral deposits, superheated by the rising temperatures, pulsed with erratic bursts of psionic energy. "We need to evacuate," Nathan said, opening his eyes. "Now!" He quickly established a planet-wide psychic link, his enhanced abilities allowing him to reach every colonist simultaneously. "Attention all colonists. This is Nathan. We are facing a severe geological crisis. Please proceed calmly to your designated evacuation points. This is not a drill." As the message spread, Nathan turned to Serena and Valeries, who had just entered the command center. "I need you two to coordinate the evacuation teams. Prioritize the areas closest to the fracture points." Serena nodded, her expression determined. "We're on it. What about the Etheri?" "We will assist," Larissa said, stepping forward. "Our ability to levitate will be useful in transporting those who cannot move quickly on their own." As Serena and Valeries left to begin the evacuation, a violent tremor shook the command center. Holographic displays flickered, and a deafening rumble filled the air. "Nathan," Tprell called out, her voice uncharacteristically urgent. A massive sinkhole has opened near the main Romulan settlement. It's expanding rapidly. Without hesitation, Nathan rushed out of the command center, Larissa close behind. They emerged into chaos, colonists streaming towards evacuation points as the ground heaved beneath their feet. In the distance, a plume of dust rose from the collapsing Romulan sector. Nathan focused his mind, drawing on his newly stabilized powers. A shimmering barrier of psionic energy sprang into existence around the edges of the sinkhole, temporarily halting its expansion. Beads of sweat formed on his brow as he strained to maintain the barrier against the relentless force of the collapsing earth. "I can't hold it indefinitely," Nathan grunted, his body trembling with effort. Suddenly, a group of Romulans led by Tavik approached the sinkhole, carrying strange devices. "Stand aside," Tavik called out, his voice filled with authority. "We'll reinforce the sinkhole with our experimental force field technology." Before Nathan could protest, the Romulans activated their devices. A web of energy crackled around the sinkhole, intersecting with Nathan's psionic barrier. For a moment, it seemed to work, the ground stabilizing. Then, disaster struck. The Romulan force fields triggered a violent reaction in the unstable mineral deposits. A series of explosions rocked the area, shattering Nathan's psionic barrier and sending shock waves through the ground. The sinkhole began to expand at an alarming rate, swallowing buildings and threatening to engulf the entire settlement. Nathan knew he had only one option. "I'm going in," he said to Larissa, his voice resolute. "You can't go alone," she replied, grasping his arm. "I'm coming with you." Together, they leaped into the chasm, using their psionic abilities to slow their descent. The walls of the sinkhole glowed with veins of the amplifying mineral, pulsing with chaotic energy. Nathan reached out with his mind, feeling the flow of magma deep below, the shifting tectonic plates. As they descended deeper, Nathan and Larissa discovered a vast network of ancient tunnels, predating both Romulan and Primonian settlements. The tunnels were lined with intricate patterns of the amplifying mineral, forming a complex geothermal system. "This must be what regulates the planet's tectonic activity," Larissa said, her voice filled with awe. Nathan nodded, understanding dawning. "And it's been disrupted. We need to reactivate it." They pushed deeper into the tunnel system, their minds working in tandem to manipulate the mineral deposits and redirect the flow of magma. As they worked, Nathan felt his consciousness expanding, intertwining with Larissa's. Their combined psionic abilities, amplified by the mineral-rich environment, allowed them to influence the planet's geological processes on a massive scale. Hours passed as they delved further into the planet's core, repairing and reactivating the ancient geothermal system. The task was monumental, requiring every ounce of their combined strength and skill. Nathan's body glowed with an otherworldly light, his skin shimmering as he channeled immense amounts of psionic energy. Finally, they reached a vast underground chamber, the heart of the geothermal system. Massive crystalline structures pulsed with energy, responding to their presence. Nathan and Larissa hovered in the center of the chamber, their bodies suspended in a field of pure psionic energy. As they completed the reactivation process, Nathan felt his consciousness merge not only with Larissa's but with the planet itself. He sensed the tectonic plates shifting, settling into a more stable configuration. The flow of magma regulated, the pressure releasing through controlled channels. A shock wave of energy burst from them, racing through the tunnel system and up to the surface. Nathan's last coherent thought before losing himself in the surge of power was a hope that they had done enough to save the colony. In that moment of cosmic unity, Nathan glimpsed the true nature of new Romulus Prime, not just a planet, but a living entity, pulsing with psionic energy. As his consciousness expanded to encompass this vast, ancient being, he knew that the challenges facing the colony were a long way to go. The reactivation of the geothermal system was just the beginning of a new chapter in their struggle for survival and understanding on this alien world. whirled. The psionic shockwave rippled through the colony, leaving change in its wake. Nathan's eyes fluttered open, his vision slowly focusing on the concerned faces of Dr. Martinez and Trell. He found himself in the medical facility, the sterile white walls a stark contrast to the vibrant, pulsing chamber he last remembered. "Welcome back," Dr. Martinez said, her voice tinged with relief. "You've been unconscious for 3 days." Nathan attempted to sit up, his muscles protesting the movement. "The colony. Is everyone safe?" T'Prell nodded, her Vulcan composure masking any emotion. "The immediate geological threat has been neutralized. However, we face new challenges." As if on cue, a commotion erupted in the hallway. Nathan turned to see a young human colonist stumbling into the room, his body flickering with uncontrolled bursts of psionic energy. "Help me!" the man cried, his eyes wide with panic. I can't control it." Dr. Martinez rushed to the man's side, administering a hypo spray to his neck. The psionic flare subsided, and the colonist slumped to the floor, exhausted. "This is happening all over the colony," T'Prell explained. "The reactivation of the geothermal system has dramatically amplified the psionic abilities of many colonists. We're struggling to keep up with the influx of cases." Nathan swung his legs over the side of the bed, ignoring the dizziness that threatened to overwhelm him. "I need to see for myself." Despite protests from the medical staff, Nathan made his way through the facility. The corridors were crowded with colonists exhibiting various stages of psionic awakening. Some levitated unconsciously, while others projected vivid holographic images from their minds. In one room, Nathan found Larissa working with a group of Etheri, teaching them meditation techniques to help control their abilities. She caught his eye, a silent understanding passing between them. As Nathan stepped outside, the full extent of the changes became clear. The colony's architecture had been altered, buildings warped and reshaped by telekinetic forces. In the distance, he saw a group of Romulans practicing newly acquired abilities, their movements precise and militaristic. A familiar voice called out, "Nathan, we need to talk." Serena approached, her expression a mix of relief and urgency. "While you were recovering, I led an expedition into the tunnel system. We found something big." Before she could elaborate, a tremor shook the ground. Nathan instinctively reached out with his mind, sensing a disturbance deep within the planet. "What was that?" he asked, his voice tight with concern. Serena's face paled. "I think we might have accidentally awakened something down there. Some kind of defense system." As if in response to her words, a series of alarms blared across the colony. Nathan's comm link crackled to life, T'Prell's voice cutting through the chaos. "Nathan, we're detecting multiple energy signatures emerging from the tunnels. They appear to be some form of automated drones." The situation was spiraling out of control. Nathan knew he needed to act fast, but his body was still weak from his ordeal. He turned to Serena, his decision made. "Gather a team. We need to go back down there and shut the system down before it causes more damage." As Serena nodded and hurried off, Nathan felt a presence behind him. Larissa stood there, her silver eyes reflecting the purpose in his own. "I'm coming with you," she said, her tone brooking no argument. "My abilities may be crucial in navigating whatever defenses we encounter." Nathan opened his mouth to respond, but a commotion near the colony's main power distribution center caught his attention. A group of armed Romulans, led by Tavik, was advancing on the facility. "This has gone too far." Tavik's voice boomed across the square, amplified by his newfound psionic abilities. "The integration experiment has failed. It's time for Romulans to take control and restore order." Nathan watched in horror as Tavik's militia easily overwhelmed the security forces, their enhanced abilities giving them a significant advantage. Within minutes, they had seized control of the power center. Tavik's voice echoed once more, this time directed specifically at Nathan. "Step down now, or we'll be forced to take more drastic measures. All non-Romulan species are to be confined to designated areas immediately." The colony erupted into chaos. Loyalists clashed with Tavik's supporters, their enhanced abilities turning the conflict into a dangerous display of psionic warfare. Buildings crumbled under telekinetic assaults, and the air crackled with psychic energy. Nathan found himself torn between two critical threats: the activated defense system in the tunnels and Tavik's insurrection on the surface. He closed his eyes, reaching out with his mind to assess the situation. The decision came swiftly. He turned to Larissa, his voice steady despite the turmoil around them. "I need you to lead the team into the tunnels. Your ethery abilities will be crucial in navigating the defenses and shutting down the system." Larissa nodded, understanding the weight of the responsibility. "And you?" Nathan's gaze hardened as he looked toward the power distribution center. "I'll deal with Tavik. This ends now." As Larissa gathered her team and prepared to descend into the tunnels, Nathan strode toward the heart of the conflict. The air around him shimmered with psionic energy, his enhanced abilities fully awakened after his experience in the planet's core. Tavik stood atop the power center, his followers creating a protective barrier around him. As Nathan approached, the rebel leader's eyes narrowed. "So, the great unifier's come to face me at last," Tavik sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. Nathan raised his hands, projecting an aura of calm. "It doesn't have to be this way, Tavik. We can work together to overcome these challenges." Tavik's response was a burst of psionic energy that Nathan barely managed to deflect. The battle had begun, and the fate of the colony hung in the balance. As the two leaders engaged in their fierce psionic duel, Larissa and her team descended into the ancient tunnels. Unaware of the true nature of the awakened defense system and the monumental decision that awaited them in the depths of new Romulus Prime. As Nathan and his team raced through the winding tunnels, the urgency of their mission burdened immensely upon them. "Larissa, come in," Nathan called into his communicator, his voice echoing off the mineral-rich walls. Static crackled in response. Dr. Martinez, keeping pace beside him, checked her handheld scanner. "We're getting closer to the central control room. The energy readings are off the charts." Sprell, her Vulcan composure unshaken even in the face of danger, added, "The psionic disturbances are intensifying. We must hurry." As they rounded a corner, a blinding light forced them to shield their eyes. The central control room lay before them, a vast chamber pulsing with energy. In the center, suspended in a field of shimmering psionic force, was Larissa. "No!" Nathan breathed, his heart sinking as he realized what was happening. Larissa's body was already partially merged with the AI system, tendrils of energy weaving through her form. Serena pushed forward, her eyes wide with alarm. "We have to stop it. We can't let her dash." "Wait," Nathan commanded, his mind racing. He closed his eyes, reaching out with his psionic senses to assess the situation. The complexity of the integration process overwhelmed him, and he knew that attempting to halt it could have catastrophic consequences. Opening his eyes, Nathan turned to his team. "We can't stop it. It's too far along. If we interrupt the process now, we could lose Larissa and destabilize the entire system." Dr. Martinez stepped forward, her medical training kicking in. "But what will happen to her? This level of integration with an AI. It's unprecedented." "We don't have a choice," Nathan said, his voice heavy with the weight of the decision. "We have to support her through this. It might be our only chance to save the colony." As the team watched, Larissa's body began to change. Her skin took on a crystalline sheen, reflecting the pulsing lights of the chamber. Her silver eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity. Nathan approached the energy field, his hand outstretched. Larissa, if you can hear me, we're here. We're with you. Suddenly, Larissa's voice filled their minds, not spoken but transmitted directly into their thoughts. Nathan, I see everything. The planet, its history, its purpose. It's incredible. The chamber hummed with power as Larissa completed her merger with the AI. The walls of the cavern seemed to come alive, patterns of light racing across the mineral veins. The defense system, T'Prel observed, checking her scanner. It's powering down. Throughout the tunnels and across the colony above, the psionic disturbances began to subside. The immediate threat had passed, but at what cost? Larissa's physical form had undergone a startling transformation. Her body now resembled the crystalline structures that surrounded them, shimmering with an inner light. Nathan, Larissa's telepathic voice came again, stronger now. I can see the planet's entire history. The civilization that built this place, their knowledge, their technology, it's all here. As Larissa shared her newfound knowledge, the team listened in awe. New Romulus Prime had once been home to a highly advanced species that harnessed psionic energy on a scale they could barely comprehend. The tunnel system and the AI were part of a vast network designed to manage the planet's resources and protect it from cosmic threats. There's so much more, Larissa continued. Hidden systems, dormant technologies. We can use them to protect and advance the colony. Nathan nodded, his mind already racing with the possibilities. Show us, Larissa. Guide us through it. Under Larissa's direction, Nathan and his team began to access the planet's hidden systems. Holographic displays sprang to life around them, showing schematics for advanced technologies beyond their wildest dreams. A planet-wide shield system, Serena marveled, studying one of the displays. And look at this, Dr. Martinez added, pointing to another. Weather control mechanisms. We could prevent the storms that have been plaguing the agricultural sectors. As they worked, activating long-dormant systems and rerouting power, Nathan felt a profound sense of change sweeping through the colony above. The very fabric of their society was being reshaped by the moment. Nathan, T'Prel said, her voice uncharacteristically urgent, I'm receiving reports from the surface. The remaining opposition, they're standing down. A wave of relief washed over Nathan, but he knew their work was nowhere near the end. The activation of these ancient systems was already triggering unexpected changes in the colonists. Reports were coming in of strange physiological adaptations, subtle bioluminescent patterns appearing on skin, enhanced sensory perception, and more. As the hours passed, Nathan found himself drawn deeper into the work, his connection to the planet growing stronger with each passing moment. He could feel the pulse of the geothermal network, sense the subtle shifts in the planet's crust. Nathan, Dr. Martinez said, placing a hand on his shoulder, you need to rest. You've been at this for hours. But Nathan shook his head, his eyes fixed on the holographic displays. There's so much more to learn, to implement. We're just scratching the surface. As Nathan immersed himself in the ancient knowledge, Serena approached, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. I've been thinking, with all this new information about the planet's history, there must be other sites we haven't discovered yet. I want to lead an expedition to the polar regions. Our scans have picked up some strange readings there. Nathan nodded absently, his mind already racing with the implications of Serena's proposal. Be careful, he said. We don't know what else might be out there. As Serena left to prepare for her expedition, Dr. Martinez and T'Prel exchanged worried glances. Nathan's intense focus on the ancient systems was concerning, but they couldn't deny the incredible advancements it was bringing to the colony. In the central control room, Nathan stood before the shimmering form of Larissa, his hand hovering just above the energy field that surrounded her. We're making progress, he said softly, but there's still so much to do. Larissa's telepathic voice filled his mind, a comforting presence amidst the whirlwind of change. Together, Nathan, we'll face whatever comes next together. As if in response to her words, a new alert flashed across the holographic displays. Nathan's eyes widened as he read the incoming transmission. A fleet of ships was approaching new Romulus Prime, a fleet unlike anything they had ever encountered before. The future of the colony hung in the balance as Nathan prepared to face this new challenge, armed with ancient knowledge and evolving abilities. The next chapter in the saga of new Romulus Prime was about to begin, and its outcome would reshape not just their world, but potentially the entire galaxy. Sector. The next chapter in the saga of new Romulus Prime was about to begin, and its outcome would reshape not just their world, but potentially the entire galaxy. Nathan's eyes narrowed as he studied the incoming fleet data. Larissa, can you identify the ships? Analyzing now. Her telepathic voice responded. The fleet consists of various species, human, Vulcan, Andorian, and Tellarite vessels. They appear to be on a diplomatic mission. Nathan nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. Activate the planetary defense system. We need to be prepared for any eventuality. As if responding to his thoughts, the ancient technology hummed to life. A shimmering energy barrier enveloped the colony, its iridescent surface rippling like water. Dr. Martinez, Nathan called, turning to the scientist. I need you to organize the colonists into specialized teams. We'll need experts in diplomacy, technology, and cultural exchange. Martinez nodded, her fingers flying over a holographic interface as she began assigning roles. T'Prel approached, her usual stoic expression tinged with a hint of concern. The fleet has entered the system. They're hailing us. Nathan took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. Let's make first contact. The ancient communication array crackled to life, projecting a holographic image of a stern-faced woman in a decorated uniform. This is Admiral Helena Reeves of the United Federation of Planets. We request permission to approach and discuss the recent developments on new Romulus Prime. Nathan stepped forward, his voice calm and measured. Admiral Reeves, I'm Nathan Chun, leader of the new Romulus Prime colony. We welcome peaceful dialogue. However, given recent events, we must insist on certain security protocols. Reeves raised an eyebrow, her expression a mix of curiosity and caution. Understood. What do you propose? A neutral meeting point, Nathan replied. We have shuttle technology that can reach the upper atmosphere. We'll dock with your flagship for initial negotiations. As arrangements were made, Nathan assembled his delegation. Dr. Martinez T'Prel and a handful of other key colonists joined him in the shuttle bay. The vessel they boarded was unlike anything they had used before, sleek, almost organic in design, pulsing with the same energy that now flowed through the colony. As they ascended through the atmosphere, Nathan felt a familiar presence in his mind. Larissa's voice, tinged with concern, echoed in his thoughts. Be cautious, Nathan. The fate of our world depends on these negotiations. The shuttle smoothly docked with Admiral Reeves' flagship, a process that seemed to amaze the Federation crew. As Nathan and his team stepped aboard, they were met with a mix of awe and wariness. Admiral Reeves greeted them personally, her piercing gaze taking in their slightly altered appearances. Welcome aboard. I must say, the reports we received hardly do justice to the changes you've undergone. Nathan nodded, extending his hand. The past few weeks have been transformative, to say the least. We have much to discuss. As they settled into the conference room, Nathan began sharing the story of their discoveries. The ancient AI, the awakening of psionic abilities, and the rapid advancements in technology. The Federation representatives listened with rapt attention, their expressions ranging from fascination to concern. This is unprecedented. A Vulcan science officer noted, his eyebrow raised. The implications for the balance of power in this sector are significant. Admiral Reeves leaned forward, her voice stern. "While we're amazed by your discoveries, we must approach this cautiously. The sudden emergence of such advanced technology and abilities could destabilize the entire region." Nathan nodded, understanding their concerns. "We're aware of the potential impact. That's why we propose a limited exchange of knowledge and resources. We want to maintain our independence while still contributing to the greater good." As they delved deeper into negotiations, Nathan felt a sudden jolt of alarm through his connection to the planet. Something was wrong. T'Pril's communicator chirped urgently. "Commander, we're receiving reports of severe weather disturbances and geological instability near the polar region. It seems to be centered around the structure Serena's team was investigating." Nathan's eyes widened. He turned to Admiral Reeves, his voice tight with urgency. "I apologize, but we have an emergency situation on the surface. We need to return immediately." Reeves nodded, her expression grave. "We'll monitor the situation from here. If you need assistance, just ask." As they rushed back to the shuttle, Nathan's mind raced. The dormant structure, the planet's sudden instability, it all pointed to something massive awakening. Something that could change everything they thought they knew about new Romulus Prime. The shuttle plunged back through the atmosphere, racing against time. As they approached the polar region, Nathan saw the extent of the chaos. Massive storm systems swirled around a central point, and the ground itself seemed to heave and shift. Landing near the excavation site, Nathan and his team rushed towards the ancient structure. As they approached, the ground trembled beneath their feet, and a blinding light erupted from the structure's core. "It's activating!" Serena shouted over the howling wind, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. Nathan reached out with his psionic senses, trying to connect with the awakening system. What he felt nearly overwhelmed him. Not just a structure, but a vast, ancient consciousness stirring from millennia of slumber. As the light faded, Nathan found himself face to face with a sight that would change the course of their colony forever. The structure had transformed, revealing itself as an enormous spacecraft. And within it, visible through newly transparent walls, were hundreds of stasis pods, each containing a being from the advanced civilization that had once called this planet home. Nathan's mind reeled with the implications. The true history of new Romulus Prime was about to be unveiled, and with it, challenges that would test the limits of their newfound abilities and alliances. Nathan's eyes widened as he took in the sight of the ancient spacecraft and its precious cargo. The implications were staggering, but there was no time to fully process them. The ground beneath their feet continued to tremble, and the howling winds threatened to tear them from the spot. "We need to stabilize the area," Nathan shouted over the cacophony. He reached out with his psionic abilities, attempting to connect with the newly awakened system. The vast consciousness he had sensed earlier responded, its thoughts alien yet somehow familiar. As Nathan worked to establish a connection, Dr. Martinez and T'Pril rushed to set up emergency equipment. They needed to create a controlled environment for both the awakening beings and the colonists. "Serena," Nathan called out, his voice strained with concentration. "I need you to lead a team to establish a temporary settlement here. We need to facilitate communication and cultural exchange with these ancients." Serena nodded, her expression a mix of excitement and grit. She began issuing orders to her team, organizing them into groups to handle logistics, security, and scientific analysis. As the chaos gradually subsided, Nathan felt a familiar presence in his mind. Larissa's voice echoed in his thoughts. "Nathan, the awakening of these beings has triggered a cascade of activations across the planet. There are more hidden facilities, each containing valuable resources and technologies." Nathan's mind raced with the possibilities. They had barely scratched the surface of what new Romulus Prime held. But with great power came great responsibility, and he knew they couldn't keep this discovery to themselves. "T'Pril," he said, turning to his Vulcan companion, Contact Admiral Reeves. We need to update her on the situation and request additional support. As T'Prel relayed the message, Nathan felt a shift in the air. The ancient spacecraft's walls shimmered, becoming transparent. Inside, he could see the stasis pods beginning to activate, their occupants stirring after millennia of sleep. Dr. Martinez approached, her medical scanner whirring. "Nathan, we need to prepare for their awakening. Their physiology may be similar to ours, but we can't be certain. We'll need to set up a quarantine zone and medical facilities." Nathan nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. "Agreed, but there's something else we need to consider. These discoveries, this technology, it's beyond anything we've encountered. We need to find a way to integrate it safely, to understand it fully." As if in response to his thoughts, Larissa's voice echoed in his mind once more. "There's a way, Nathan, a procedure that would allow you to merge your consciousness with the planet's systems. It would give you complete access to all the knowledge and technology of the ancients." Nathan's breath caught in his throat. The idea was as terrifying as it was exhilarating. "Is it safe?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "There are risks," Larissa admitted, "but with proper preparation, it can be done." Nathan took a deep breath, his decision made. "Dr. Martinez T'Prel," he called out. "We need to prepare for a procedure, one that could change everything." As Nathan explained the situation, he could see the concern in their eyes. But there was also understanding. They knew what was at stake. "We'll need to set up a specialized chamber," Dr. Martinez said, her mind already working on the problem. "Something that can incorporate both our medical technology and the ancient systems we've discovered." T'Prel nodded in agreement. "I will assist in ensuring your physical safety during the procedure, Nathan. We cannot afford to lose you." As preparations began, Nathan felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He knew that this decision would have far-reaching consequences, not just for the colony, but potentially for the entire sector. In the days that followed, the colony buzzed with activity. Serena's team worked tirelessly to establish communication with the awakening ancients, while Dr. Martinez and T'Prel focused on creating the perfect environment for Nathan's procedure. Admiral Reeves, upon hearing of their plans, requested permission to send a small team of specialists to observe and assist. Nathan agreed, recognizing the importance of transparency in their newfound alliance. As the date of the procedure approached, Nathan spent time with key members of the colony, ensuring a smooth transition of leadership in case the worst should happen. He appointed Serena as his temporary successor, trusting in her ability to guide the colony through whatever challenges lay ahead. On the day of the procedure, Nathan stood before the specialized chamber, his heart racing with anticipation and fear. Dr. Martinez and T'Prel flanked him, their expressions a mix of concern and willpower. Dr. Lara Voss, the xenobiology expert sent by Admiral Reeves, stood nearby, her keen eyes taking in every detail. "Are you ready?" Dr. Martinez asked, her hand hovering over the chamber's control panel. Nathan took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. "As ready as I'll ever be," he replied, stepping into the chamber. As the door sealed behind him, Nathan felt a moment of panic. But then Larissa's presence filled his mind, calming and reassuring. Together, her voice echoed in his thoughts. "We face this together." The chamber hummed to life, and Nathan felt a tingling sensation spread throughout his body. He closed his eyes, focusing on his connection to the planet, to the ancient systems that pulse with power beneath the surface. As his consciousness began to expand, Nathan gasped. The flood of information was overwhelming, threatening to drown his sense of self. He saw flashes of the planet's history, glimpses of the advanced civilization that had once called it home. And then, amidst the torrent of knowledge, he sensed something else. A looming threat, a cosmic anomaly capable of destabilizing entire star systems. The very danger that had driven the ancients into hibernation was approaching once more. Nathan's eyes snapped open, glowing with an intense, pulsating light. His voice, when he spoke, resonated with power. "We need to prepare," he said, his gaze fixed on some distant point. "The true test is yet to come." To come. The words had barely left Nathan's lips when alarms began blaring throughout the facility. The ground beneath their feet shuddered violently, and the air crackled with an otherworldly energy. "It's here," Nathan breathed, his eyes wide with realization. "The cosmic anomaly." Dr. Martinez's face paled. "But we're not ready. We haven't had time to." "We don't have a choice," Nathan cut in, his voice filled with unshakable focus. He stepped out of the chamber, his body still glowing faintly with residual energy. "We need to act now." As if on cue, Serena burst into the room, her face flushed with exertion. "Nathan, we're detecting a massive energy buildup in the upper atmosphere. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Nathan nodded, his mind already reaching out to connect with the planet's systems. "I know. Gather everyone you can. We're going to need all hands on deck for this." As the team rushed to prepare their defenses, Nathan felt the full weight of his newly integrated consciousness. The knowledge of the ancients flowed through him, revealing the true nature of the threat they faced. This cosmic anomaly was no mere natural phenomenon. It was the very force that had driven the planet's original inhabitants into hibernation. With a thought, Nathan activated the planet's energy shield, a magnificent barrier of swirling light that enveloped new Romulus Prime. The strain on his mind was immense, but he pushed through the pain, drawing on every ounce of psionic energy at his disposal. "Admiral Reeves," he called out, his voice resonating with newfound power. "We need your fleet to reinforce our position. This anomaly is unlike anything you've encountered before." As the Federation ships moved into defensive formations around the planet, Nathan reached out with his mind, connecting with every sentient being on new Romulus Prime and in orbit. His telepathic voice echoed in the minds of colonists, ancient beings, and starship crews alike. "People of new Romulus Prime, we face a threat that could destroy everything we've built. But we are not alone. Together, we have the power to overcome this challenge. Join your minds with mine, lend me your strength, and we will weather this storm." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Minds from dozens of species merged into a vast psionic network, their collective consciousness amplifying the shield's strength. The skies above New Romulus Prime erupted in a dazzling display of energy, visible even from the farthest reaches of the system. As the cosmic anomaly made contact with the shield, Nathan felt the full brunt of its power. It was like a tidal wave of pure energy, threatening to overwhelm their defenses. He gritted his teeth, channeling every ounce of the collective psionic energy into maintaining the barrier. The strain was immense. Nathan's body trembled with the effort, and he could feel the planet's systems fluctuating under the pressure. But still he held on, drawing strength from the unified minds connected to his own. In the midst of this cosmic battle, Nathan became aware of a group of young minds huddled in fear. His consciousness zeroed in on their location, a shelter deep within the colony. There, he found a group of alien children, orphans from various species, including Romulan, Primonian, and Etheri. They were in the care of a human couple, Dr. Liam and Cora Wells, known for their compassion and adaptability. The fear radiating from these young minds threatened to destabilize the psionic network. Acting on instinct, Nathan created a localized psionic field around the shelter. This field not only shielded the children from the physical effects of the cosmic battle, but also soothed their minds, filling them with a sense of safety and belonging. As he focused on protecting the children, Nathan experienced a moment of clarity. He saw the Wells family, humans caring for alien orphans despite the initial skepticism they had faced. He saw the diverse community they had built on new Romulus Prime, a testament to the power of unity and understanding. This realization struck Nathan like a bolt of lightning. The true strength of their colony lay not in advanced technology or psionic abilities, but in the bonds they had forged across species and cultures. With new hope, he channeled this understanding into the collective consciousness. The effect was instantaneous. The psionic network pulsed with a new energy, fueled by the shared experiences and emotions of every being connected to it. The shield strengthened, pushing back against the cosmic anomaly with unprecedented force. For a moment, the entire planet seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a final surge of power, the anomaly began to fracture. Cracks of light appeared in its swirling mass, growing larger and brighter until, with a blinding flash, it shattered completely. The cosmic threat dispersed into harmless particles, raining down upon the energy shield in a breathtaking display of lights. As the immediate danger passed, Nathan gradually released his hold on the planet's systems and the psionic network. The colonists' ancient beings and fleet crews found themselves forever changed by the experience of shared consciousness. A new understanding and appreciation for one another permeated the air, transcending species and cultures. Exhausted but triumphant, Nathan's body still glowed faintly with residual psionic energy as he made his way to the shelter where the Wells family and their adopted children were housed. As he approached, he saw the alien children peering out at him, their eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity and lingering fear. Dr. Liam Wells stepped forward, his arm protectively around his wife Cora. "Nathan," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "What you did for our family, for all of us, we can't thank you enough." Nathan smiled, feeling the weight of his responsibility more acutely than ever. "Your family embodies everything that makes new Romulus Prime special," he replied. "It's time we use that strength to build something even greater." As the children cautiously approached, Nathan knelt down to their level, his mind already racing with plans for the future. The cosmic threat may have been averted, but he knew their journey was nowhere near the end. New challenges and opportunities awaited them, and Nathan was determined to lead new Romulus Prime into a future where diversity and unity went hand in hand.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.